Chapter 1359. Go back and comprehend it well. Ji Zun appeared behind Yu Yang in a flash. When he turned around in surprise, she tapped his forehead lightly with her finger. That was a ball of boundlessly mysterious spiritual light, like a meteor breaking through the sky. It flashed in Yu Yang's mind. It contained all of Ji Zun's insights, as well as the unique revelations given to her by the mysterious inheritance. Everything, like fireworks blooming, instantly overflowed the entire lake of Yu Yang's mind. Yu Yang's previous puzzles and speculations about the divine throne were completely understood at this moment. However, Ji Zun did not limit Yu Yang's understanding to her own realm. On the contrary, she used her own wisdom to guide Yu Yang to continue to move forward to a higher realm. Yu Yang was so excited that he almost wanted to hold her in his arms, but before he could open his arms, he immediately realized that it was too abrupt and quickly took a step back. The outcome of this battle won't be decided even if we fight for a few more days and nights. You are only here to add to the chaos. Go back and work hard. What you need to do is to surpass yourself and completely transcend before the enemy wins. Ji Zun hoped that Yu Yang would return to the grimoire world and take this opportunity to comprehend the divine throne and the new realm. What should I do? Yu Yang didn't know what to do to improve himself. Look at your heart and get rid of distracting thoughts. Maybe you will get the answer. Ji Zun never thought that this kid's comprehension would be a problem. Indeed, there were many shortcomings in this guy from another world. But being stupid was definitely not one of them. As long as this kid was serious, no matter what he did, no matter how difficult or challenging it was not a problem. The only thing that limited this kid's progress was his laziness. It was too difficult to make this kid nervous until the most tense moment. Of course, this also depended on the person. For example, Ji Zun was his nemesis. As soon as she opened her mouth, he would immediately become honest. Yu Yang returned to the grimoire world. Xiao Nu, who stayed inside and did not participate in the battle outside, widened her beautiful big eyes. Why did he come back? And what was with that bitter expression? As soon as she asked, Yu Yang poured out a lot of grievances. In the end, he hoped that Pandora, who was coexisting in Xiaonu's body, could give him an opinion. Weren't you a super strong god tier in the past? There should also be a divine throne. Tell me, what should I do to become the best divine throne? No, I'm not asking for too much now. It's fine as long as I can become a divine throne. Yu Yang still wanted to use his divine throne to deal with Ji Zun, but this was not something else. Even if he wanted to make do with it, he wouldn't be able to. Xiaonu did not know anything about the divine throne, and Pandora was also confused. What is the divine throne? Is it delicious? This answer almost made Yu Yang fall to the ground. Sigh, he asked the wrong person. Instead of asking this muddle-headed Pandora, who had even forgotten about her past, he might as well think of a way himself. Seeing Yu Yang's depressed look, Pandora covered her mouth and laughed. She liked to see Yu Yang's depressed look the most. She felt that it was very amusing. On the other hand, the kind-hearted Xiaonu was a little soft-hearted and hoped that Pandora could help her master. Under Xiaonu's pleading, Pandora also decided to try and see if she could remember anything. The result was obvious. After Yu Yang finished a sumptuous meal, he found that Pandora, who had taken over Xiaonu's body, had already fallen asleep. Furthermore, her sleeping posture was very alluring. It was rare for him to work hard, but his hard work was actually ignored by others. How could this be? The guy from another world howled and turned into a wolf under the moon. He pressed down on a certain goddess and spanked her but 30 times. At first, a certain third young master's willpower was very firm, and the execution of the family rules was very strict. However, a certain goddess knew how to act coquettishly. Furthermore, there was an extremely cute Xiaonu in her body that he could not bear to hit. Thus, towards the end, the family rules were still in force. The spanking was still the same, but it had already become a different form of family rules. After a hearty battle, the guy from another world discovered that a certain goddess not only had a divine throne, but also a realm that was exceptionally high. At the very least, it was a level higher than what he could currently detect and understand. However, this divine throne of calamity was deeply sealed. Even Pandora's consciousness seemed to have forgotten about it on purpose, and did not resonate with it at all. If not for the slight ripple that occurred when Yu Yang's body and mind fused with hers, Yu Yang would not have been able to detect its existence. I also have a divine throne? Then where is my divine throne? Can I sit on it? Pandora's words made Yu Yang feel helpless. It seemed like there was no hope for this girl to help him become a divine throne. On the other hand, when he had the ability in the future, it was not impossible for him to help her remove her divine throne. Furthermore, it seemed that this divine throne of calamity was not sealed by someone else, but by Pandora herself. She probably did not like him, who would be cursed by divine power the moment he touched her divine throne, so she sealed herself. Ji Zun's enlightenment, the revelation from the mysterious inheritance above the million steps, Wu Shuang Huang's unique interpretation of the divine throne, and Pandora's divine throne realm that was deeply sealed, all of these were fused in Yu Yang's heart. He had learned a lot from his exploration. However, he still could not use divine power to condense it himself. The most important prerequisite was that there was no divine emblem. If there was no such thing, even if he condensed it, it would not be recognized by the higher-ups. At the same time, without this, which direction should he condense it in? Ji Zun condensed the divine throne that she comprehended from the gate of life and death to control life and death. Pandora condensed the divine throne of calamity that she was born with and could curse everything in the world. Then what about himself? Could it be that he had to create a perverted divine throne? Traversing the divine throne? After agonizing over it for a long time, Yu Yang decided to ask the omnipotent sword goddess for help. She definitely knew about it. A certain third young master fell asleep very comfortably under the gentle care of Xiaonu. Unfortunately, the sword goddess was not at home. Not only was she not there, even that Koki no Koki was not there. The entire dream realm was empty, causing a certain third young master who was full of expectations to be disappointed. When he woke up, Yu Yang discovered that Xiaonu was as curious as a cat. She was tossing and turning a sparkling thing in her hand. When Yu Yang looked over, her small hands that were like white orchids immediately took out that sparkling star and happily handed it over. When you were asleep, a rainbow light flew out from the trial grimoire. Pandora said that it might be for you. The trial grimoire flew out? Yu Yang was stunned when he heard this. Something that flew out from the grimoire? It didn't fly out earlier or later, but it flew out now. Could it be that it was intentional? Thinking about it again, it must be the doing of the three little Lolas: creation, destruction, and eternity. They seemed to have also disappeared and could not be found anywhere. It was really strange. Why did all of them disappear at such an important juncture? Taking the sparkling star-like object, Yu Yang discovered that there was indeed their pure divine power on it. The degree of purity of this divine power simply shocked Yu Yang. How did they refine it? Could divine power be as eternal and pure as nirvana flame? It was too inconceivable, but it was also the truth. Yu Yang carefully held the sparkling star-like object in his hand. He felt that this thing should be the legendary foundation of the divine throne, the core of achievement, and the divine emblem that was specially approved by it. Without it, it wouldn't work. Now that he had it, Yu Yang was still confused. Such a pure divine emblem, what kind of divine power would be added to it? If all the divine power was as pure as it was to become a divine throne, then it would be over. Even if all the divine power of his attributes were added together, he wouldn't be able to achieve much in the end. How much divine power was needed to become a divine throne? Yu Yang thought about Ji Zun. He remembered that she seemed to have absorbed the power of two 10,000-year-old ghosts' divine thrones, but she only added a little bit of black in the black and white world of the divine thrones. After the evolution, there seemed to be only a little bit of the vast divine power left. F***ck. He didn't have Ji Zun's ability to control the power of other people's divine thrones. If he were to rely on himself, he would explode and then die. Do you also have a lot of troubles? The Freedom Queen passed by and noticed that this brat seemed to be very bitter. She couldn't help but ask, "Who doesn't have troubles? Do I look like that kind of heartless guy who laughs foolishly all day long?" Yu Yang disagreed. "You are." The Freedom Queen's pure and holy face was smiling and shining. "Don't provoke me now." Yu Yang was very depressed. "You know that I'm in a bad mood, but you didn't kiss me to comfort me. You even deliberately made fun of me. It was really too outrageous." Although he was depressed, he couldn't hit the Freedom Queen's little but because this girl only had half of her body. Last time, he wanted to help her grow her lower body, but he didn't make a move until now. "Goodbye." The Freedom Queen waved her hand lightly, a smile on her face. It was really rare. Why was she in such a good mood today? "Wait a minute." Yu Yang chased after her. "You want me to help solve your doubts?" "Sorry, I'm not even at the divine level." The Freedom Queen knew about Yu Yang's troubles, but she couldn't do anything about it. The divine throne was far beyond her understanding. "Who said that?" "I'm talking about helping you recover your body." Yu Yang was like a big bad wolf approaching a little lamb. I'm not ready yet." The Freedom Queen realized the danger. "I'm already ready. Don't refuse, because it's useless to refuse. Don't talk nonsense, this young master has wanted to teach you a lesson for a long time." Yu Yang picked up the Freedom Queen and ran to the bedroom, ignoring her objections. Xiaonu, who had just finished cleaning up, came out with a basin of water. She was very tactful, but Pandora laughed and said, "Ayaya, I didn't see anything." The guy from another world was thick-skinned and pretended not to hear it. However, the Freedom Queen couldn't do it. She was so embarrassed that her face was burning, and she wanted to faint immediately. She covered her face shyly and used the ostrich method to escape. Although she knew what was going to happen next, she still didn't dare to face it directly. The Queen of Freedom, who had lost half of her body, was still breathtakingly beautiful even though she had lost half of her body. She was as fragrant as snow and as soft as jade, and as red as ruby. Her perfect body formed a shocking contrast with her incomplete body. Only now did the Queen of Freedom realize that she was a woman. Only then did a kind of shyness unique to women awaken in her soul. The guy from another world was usually a big pervert, but he was still good when it came to serious matters. He focused his mind. Especially when he gently placed half of the divine body under the Freedom Queen, he was so nervous that a layer of fine sweat seeped out. This was definitely not a simple connection or splicing. This was a kind of regeneration that surpassed life, the fusion of a divine level and a mortal. The most difficult thing was that the Freedom Queen had a kind of pure divine power, which was inherited from the previous Water Temple Master. Two kinds of divine power with different attributes would coexist in a mortal's body, perfectly fuse, and transform into her life functions and wisdom. This level of difficulty was even higher than a mountain. If Yu Yang didn't have the Nirvana flame and his own blood, he wouldn't dare to dream of such an unprecedented miracle. Divine and mortal as one, heaven and man as one. This would also be a unique existence in the entire world. It's about to begin. Yu Yang was sweating profusely, but he couldn't be bothered to wipe it off. His entire mind was focused on the connection. If there was even a millionth of a mistake, the conflict between the two kinds of divine power would produce a world-destroying explosion, and this Freedom Queen would definitely perish. The Freedom Queen also knew that she needed to cooperate with her thoughts. No matter how embarrassed she was, she couldn't let his hard work go down the drain, let alone sit and watch him be in danger. Her fingers that were covering her face opened slightly. This was the first time in her life. She was so brave, and she looked at him with open heart. Chapter 1360. So, this is the secret of the divine throne. When Yu Yang was remodeling the Liberty Queen's body, he discovered that there was a sleeping divine throne that had lost its consciousness but still had its power. At first, it was very weak, and Yu Yang thought it was an illusion. When the Liberty Queen's consciousness and divine power law were gradually integrated into the divine throne under Yu Yang's guidance, the divine throne immediately began to awaken and continuously fed back various information to Yu Yang's mind, such as the secret and prerequisites to become a divine throne. This made the dazzled Yu clan's third young master pleasantly surprised and flustered. The power of the sleeping divine throne had dissipated a lot, and more than half of it was incomplete. However, the good news was that the foundation was still there, and the form was complete. This made Yu Yang, who did not know how to evolve it, heave a sigh of relief. Other than the divine emblem, condensing a divine throne was an essential foundation. It also needed a type of divine might to fill it. This kind of divine might. It could be refined and transformed by the Master's divine power. It could also be transformed by the Master's followers' piety or faith power. It could even be transformed by the Master's many great deeds, such as the phenomenon, influence, power, and so on. For example, the Liberty Queen. She did not have any divine power, and what she had was either the inheritance or the remnant of half of her divine body. After Yu Yang refined the divine power in her body, as well as the remaining divine power in half of her divine body, he was pleasantly surprised to find that her divine power light pillar had already exceeded 215 meters. Although she was unable to reach the superior divine seat, requirement of 300 meters and above, it seemed to be very easy to reach the true divine seat, between 100 and 300 meters. However, when Yu Yang took action and prepared to awaken the Liberty Queen's sleeping divine throne and integrate the new divine power, he realized that his understanding was just a mistake. It was just a terrifying beginning. Yu Yang had already learned from the old fisherman that the sleeping great divine priest's feedback was the same. If one wanted to become a great divine priest, if one wanted to become a god that was recognized by the entire upper world, they must first use their divine power to free themselves. Then, the rest would be used to become a divine throne. Once the great divine throne was completed, the height it showed and the rank it was at represented the height of the realm of the divine throne. This was a harsh condition that made Yu Yang speechless. However, he had to do this. There was no other way. Only by doing this could he truly transcend his mortal body and ascend to godhood. Is it very troublesome? The Queen of Freedom looked at Yu Yang apologetically. It's fine, but it turns out that it's so difficult to truly become a god. It was only now that Yu Yang realized that advancing to the divine level wasn't something that could be achieved just by cultivating for a long time, accumulating a lot of divine power, or using some kind of divine equipment, divine beast or grimoire. Although any external object had a supportive effect, it was also an object of self-liberation. To become a god, one had to pay the price first. First, he would use pure divine power to pay for everything in the world. After completing this, he would no longer have any restrictions or obstacles. Only then would he be liberated and become a god. The Queen of Freedom was very kind. She had never killed anyone, and she rarely killed anything. She didn't even step on many ants, so the repayment requirement was very small. However, she had many experiences in her life, and all of them had to be cleared with pure divine power. Moreover, the fate she carried was a dead knot that had been entangled for generations. She also had to pay divine power to resolve this wave of hatred. As for those hungry followers and believers, she also had to pay divine power to respond to their prayers. Unless the Queen of Freedom was willing to take over those people in the Tianhua region, she had to convert her divine power into divine grace in one go in order to truly free herself and the fate that she had been carrying. All of this was fine, she could pay it all in one go. About 30 meters of divine power would be enough. Among them, the Queen of Freedom didn't need 5 meters to free herself. The main thing was the fate that she carried. What Yu Yang didn't expect was that half of the divine body also needed to be repaid. Moreover, the amount of divine power needed to be repaid was unimaginable. F*CK, the divine power light pillar that is more than 200 meters tall is gone in one go. Yu Yang realized that the divine power light pillar disappeared in an instant. If it wasn't for the trace of light pillar that was a few centimeters tall, Yu Yang would have thought that the Queen of Freedom would destroy her godhead because she didn't repay enough. Fortunately, because she had freed herself from fate and ascended to become a god, the various good deeds that the Queen of Freedom's ancestors had carried out in the Tianhua region, including the prayers and piety of her followers, etc., returned like a spring. There were countless of them. These were all transformed into blessings and divine power, and the divine power light pillar rose again. Moreover, it was very pure. Yu Yang used the nirvana flame to purify it. Out of 10 or 20%, only 80 or 90% remained, and it returned to a height of 60 meters. There was no need to think about becoming a proper deity. Even becoming a beginner deity would be passable. Yu Yang's greatest hope was to be able to fuse with the remaining divine power of the sleeping divine throne and reach the beginner deity throne that was infinitely close to a height of 100 meters. Please don't repel each other. Yu Yang slowly fused the 60 meters of pure divine power into the sleeping divine throne. He was extremely nervous, worried that the two would repel each other and explode, causing great destruction. He was drenched in sweat, and drop by drop, it dripped onto the Queen of Freedom's newly reconstructed snow-white body. At the most tense moment, Yu Yang felt his vision blur, and his mind seemed to relax. He was so scared that his hair stood on end, thinking that something bad was going to happen. Fortunately, he realized that it was just a false alarm. He focused again, and his mind guided the pure divine power to fuse with the divine power of the sleeping divine throne. When it had completely absorbed the divine power, Yu Yang realized that the sleeping divine throne was still far from enough. It seemed that it still had enough potential to absorb more divine power, but the external divine power had already been completely exhausted. Just when he was in a dilemma, Yu Yang, who had a bright mind, boldly took out a portion of the giant's divine power of fate, that he once carried but could not use from the holy grimoire, and placed it inside. Strange light. It exploded from the sleeping divine throne and lit up the entire grimoire world. At this moment, the fates of the two people were closely linked, inseparable. The Queen of Freedom's divine throne instantly reached a perfect state, and she immediately became a god. Her body was reborn into an immortal god's body, and according to her own will and the original memories of her body, she formed a brand new statue of liberty. Behind her divine body, which was as pure as jade and immortal, a dazzling and beautiful divine throne of liberty slowly rose up. Looking at the mighty and holy statue of liberty, even the evolved Yu Yang himself couldn't help but feel a kind of reverence that he didn't dare to blaspheme. The birth of any god was always so extraordinary. It was so dignified. The Statue of Liberty, which represented free will and would never be fettered and bound, was officially born. This, the Queen of Freedom, no, the Statue of Liberty, Ingluo gently touched the emblem between her eyebrows. It was a special emblem that represented a god's wife. When Yu Yang used his divine power of fate to place it into her body and the divine throne, this little dot appeared between her eyebrows at the same time and marked it forever. I also didn't know it would be like this. Yu Yang was a little speechless. If he had this after having sex with the illusionary moon goddess, then it would be fine. After all, he had done it before. However, this Statue of Liberty hadn't even started yet. Actually, He didn't know that this emblem already existed, including Yu, Lu Yi, and the others. It was just that it wasn't as obvious and divine as it was now. After the emblem first appeared under the World Tree, it disappeared according to its master's will. Since our fates are linked, then our lives will also be blended into one. The Statue of Liberty bowed to Yu Yang, and her bright eyes emitted an incomparably gentle divine light. Although I'm a little lacking in confidence, Yingluo will definitely work hard. In the endless years to come, Yingluo will fulfill the greatest responsibility of a wife, and let my husband's life be filled with freedom and joy. Really? I mean, it's really good. The Statue of Liberty is really beautiful. When Yu Yang saw the naked god's body in front of him, it would be a lie to say that he didn't have any crooked thoughts. When he heard what Yingluo said, he was even more ecstatic. However, he was a lot more careful after hitting a wall with Jizun. He was still able to control his mind and didn't want to pounce on her and eat her like a big tiger. Please don't say such words that go against your will. You should know that Yingluo's heart is now completely connected with yours. The Statue of Liberty couldn't help but laugh. Let's take a look at the god's throne first. Yu Yang was greatly embarrassed. Not saying what he meant was the characteristic of a guy from another world. Usually, very few people would expose him, including Xuanyo, Tigress, and even Yu and the others. Everyone knew what kind of person he was, but everyone secretly left some face for him. However, it couldn't be done in front of the Statue of Liberty, Yingluo. She was used to sincere and frank words. In the past, she would rather keep her mouth shut than lie to her enemies. Seeing that Yu Yang didn't say what he meant, even if she had a wolf's heart, she couldn't help but correct him. Yu Yang didn't dare to look straight into Yingluo's eyes. He was afraid that he would see a wolf's reflection in those beautiful eyes, so he quickly changed the topic. Just a primary god. The Statue of Liberty smiled. She now understood the actions of Princess Sisai and the others a little. As a wife, especially a good wife, she really had to learn to be tolerant. She displayed her divine throne. Instantly, the entire grimoire world shone brightly, holy and flawless. The Statue of Liberty's divine throne was the lowest rank primary god. However, Yu Yang noticed one thing. This divine throne of liberty was very different from the previous divine throne that was in deep slumber. The feeling that the divine throne of liberty gave Yu Yang was perfect. So perfect that it was indescribable. This divine throne of liberty seemed to have a lot of room for improvement. It seemed like it still had half of its potential to be improved. The previous divine throne that was in deep slumber did not have this feeling. Could it be that he really did it? Did he do it all? For a moment, Yu Yang started to doubt his own hands. Even though he knew that it was his own doing, he still couldn't believe it. He felt that when he integrated the fate divine power into it, there was a mysterious and undetectable force that quietly helped him achieve it. It wasn't all of his doing. What he did might just be a superficial catalyst. Heavenly Sword Goddess. It must be her. It must be her who secretly helped him evolve this divine throne of liberty. Otherwise, this divine throne of liberty wouldn't be so perfect. It was even more impossible for it to have half of its potential to be improved. The old fisherman had said that after becoming a divine throne, there shouldn't be any more big improvements. It was almost the end. Even if there was improvement, it would be very slow. However, the divine throne of liberty had exceeded his warning. Why? Maybe it's like this. Yingluo can make a bold guess. The Statue of Liberty and Yu Yang were connected. She was unable to detect the existence of the Heavenly Sword Goddess. She only vaguely knew that there was a mysterious guardian. It was an existence that even her divinity and divinity feared. However, she could clearly sense Yu Yang's current state of mind. Seeing that Yu Yang was confused, she hurriedly comforted him. It's possible. During the process of becoming a divine throne, the Heavenly Sword Goddess borrowed your hands to evolve it. It can be considered as you evolving it for Yingluo. Because you have not become a divine throne and have not officially entered the peak, Ingluo arranged it to be below half of the realm. In the future, when you have completely reached the peak, you will advance at the same time. If that's the case, it does make some sense. Yu Yang thought of Jizun. She was still preparing to become a lesser divine throne. That would be even more awesome. The divine throne of liberty was like child's play compared to her own sovereign throne. Maybe Jizun also received some kind of revelation or secret. She seemed to have said the same thing before. Jizun let you become a divine throne. There should be more than one divine throne. Maybe there can be 2 or more. The Statue of Liberty made a bold guess. Could it be that becoming a divine throne is related to the grimoire? Yu Yang thought further and thought of a possibility. Is it possible that one grimoire can become a divine throne? The Statue of Liberty looked at Yu Yang. If that was the case, then Yu Yang could condense at least 3 divine thrones. Jizun tried to condense the sovereign throne to control life and death. If I want to condense my own divine throne, what kind of divine throne would it be? If I can condense a few divine thrones, what kind of divine throne would the first one be? Yu Yang fell into deep thought. He had the holy grimoire that had accompanied him since he transmigrated. He also had the trial grimoire that he had obtained from the 10 trials. He even had a divine grimoire that he had not successfully summoned. The characteristics of his divine throne should be closely related to them. The direction of his evolution should also be based on them. So the holy grimoire first. Or the trial grimoire. No matter who it is, please give me a little hint. Yu Yang was especially anxious in his heart. He felt that he was about to break through the barrier, but he was just a little bit away. The inspiration was at his fingertips, but he couldn't really grasp it in his palm. This feeling was too maddening. Was there no one who could clearly tell him what to do? It was all riddles. Could it be that his fate had to be solved in the process of a riddle in order to achieve something? To achieve the effect of the trial? The heavenly sword goddess did not say it, his mother did not say it, Queen Vivian Li and even Fourth Mother, who were often with him in the later stages, did not say anything. Alright. There must be a reason behind this. Maybe after solving this riddle, this situation, the entire fate and the battle situation would be solved. I will not disappoint you. Just wait, comprehending the divine throne is just the beginning. In the future there will be even more. I will solve them one by one, and I will definitely become a divine sovereign, just like you all hoped for. The Statue of Liberty hugged him from behind and gently hugged him in her arms, trying to give him some comfort and support. She also did not know what she should do. Only then could she help him. But she hoped that by doing so, she could share his troubles with him, and bring him some comfort in his heart. Yu Yang woke up from his thoughts. He realized that she had been accompanying him for a long time, but she was patient and gentle. When she saw him turn his face, she even smiled sweetly, a complete change from the cold and indifferent attitude she had when she was the Queen of Liberty. With a body, although she had become a goddess, she actually had a feminine gentleness. Seeing this, the guy from another world could not help but be moved. His wolfish claws secretly reached out and climbed up the snow jade fragrant peak. It's better to understand the secrets of the divine throne from you. Of course, it was necessary to understand, but was his goal the divine throne? This was very questionable. The Statue of Liberty could not protest, because her cherry lips had already been savagely blocked by a certain guy from another world. Chapter 1361. In the space-time labyrinth, Fatty Hai, Yi Kong and the others were still fighting. All the way forward. They didn't know that they were in the game, nor did they know that their opponents were just illusions in the labyrinth world. The real enemies had already escaped from Dong Fang's chess skills and rules, and were scattered at the most important points. They didn't need to fight until the most crucial moment. Just like that, the rankers from the Radiant Mountain camp quietly watched their own illusions fight against the warriors from Tong Tian Tower. Damn it! The captain's face turned ugly when he saw his own illusions being killed several times by the enemy. Although it was a space-time projection, its strength was not far from the original. In other words, if the real captain appeared on the battlefield and fought against the warriors from Tong Tian Tower who were trying to break through, he would probably die with hatred. The captain's expression was ugly, and so were Tu Shi and the others. This was because they discovered that without the Conqueror Queen Fei Wenli or Titan Yu, without the human Ji Zun and His Majesty who resided deep within the Tian Luo Palace, the space-time labyrinth still couldn't stop the attacks of the Tong Tian Tower warriors. These fellows were simply undying cockroaches. They treated this as a battle experience. Many of them had already seen through the illusion, but they still charged forward with great interest. They did not have any plans to avoid or break out of this situation. After fighting for so long, Tu Shi and the other god rankers also understood that they would not be able to stop the Yu clan third young master by themselves. His battle would be at a higher level. Their true targets were the warriors of Tong Tian Tower, who did not seem to be eye-catching before, but were in fact immortal. Alright, that guy from Dongfang's plan was flawless. They would continue according to his plan. As long as they won in the end. The process wasn't important at all. This was what the captain, Tu Shi and the others were thinking. What was different from them was that the third party, who was watching the battle from another world, was extremely dissatisfied with their passive behavior. This was especially so for the battle-hungry, arrogant man. He clearly knew that everything in front of him was a space-time labyrinth, but when he saw Fatty Hai, Yi Kong and the others fighting happily, he really wanted to join in and challenge the trial together. Massacring and killing, the steaming hot blood, and the sorrowful howls of the enemies, that was what he wanted. But unfortunately, no one gave him such a chance. Other than the Night Empress being a little interesting, the others are not worth mentioning. The monster emperor, who was watching the battle from the sidelines, yawned in boredom. Has anyone seen where Ji Zun's guardian beast has run off to? On the other side, Supreme Jin furrowed his brows. Isn't she protecting Yu Taitan's younger sister? The two-headed dragon Guong was shocked when he heard that. That should be an illusion. The arrogant man's eyesight was far better than his. What? The beautiful queen was about to faint. The current illusionary moon goddess didn't look like a phantom at all. She could fly, laugh, and jump around. She would even chat with Titan Yu's sister from time to time. Although she didn't make a move during the battle, whenever Titan Yu's sister was in a disadvantageous position, she would use her divine power to help. How could she be a phantom? It's not just that goddess. Even Yu Taitan's sister, they are actually illusions. The Goblin Emperor wasn't too sure. I haven't completely seen through it, but I can be sure of one thing. All the girls, beasts and treasures related to Titan Yu have all disappeared. Maybe it was the little girl who inherited the power of the goddess of wisdom, or maybe there were other people working together. In any case, 3 days ago these people had all been replaced by phantoms. The last real body was that Supreme Elder's guardian beast. She has been using the eternal moon to deceive our eyes. Under her disguise, all the girls, beasts and treasures related to Titan Yu have all disappeared. Only his teammates, the little fatty and the others were left to continue their breakthrough. All fake? The two-headed dragon Guong and the other Heaven Realm powerhouses almost couldn't believe it. Everything in front of them was clearly real. Where did they go? The arrogant man raised this question. Perhaps it's a stratagem. Perhaps Titan Yu has met with a strong enemy. They aren't willing to stay in this time-space labyrinth to train, so they all left to his side to help him. The latter possibility is very high because now is not the best time to break out of this predicament. They left a little too early. This doesn't make sense. The Goblin Emperor made a bold conjecture. Makes sense, but there are other possibilities. I feel that the battle of wits between Dongfang and Titan Yu isn't that simple. The suspicion in Goblin Emperor's eyes deepened. Right now, Night Empress is fighting with the undefeatable Ji Zun. Is she also fake? The beautiful queen couldn't accept this reality. She's real. The Goblin Emperor smiled. The only one that still existed was Night Empress. However, the fate divine weapon in her hands had already disappeared 3 days ago. Initially, he still suspected that Night Empress had purposely kept the treasure. However, from the looks of it now, the fate divine weapon in her hands had been taken away by the original owner, Titan Yu. It was also because of this that he dared to speculate that Titan Yu had met with one or a few powerful god-level powerhouses that he couldn't fight against. Moreover, it was to the point that he couldn't fight against them without using the fate divine weapon. Night Empress really existed. Her battle with the undefeatable Ji Zun was also coming to an end. The undefeatable Ji Zun had the perception inherent skill. As long as he felt that he would definitely win and never lose, he would only participate in the battle. Under such circumstances, it was theoretically impossible for the undefeatable Ji Zun to lose. Unless the Goblin Emperor and Supreme Jin looked at each other and received the answer and acknowledgement from each other's eyes. To defeat the undefeatable Ji Zun, that was the only possibility. I've won. I've finally won. The undefeatable Ji Zun was currently bathed in blood. His body was riddled with wounds. His originally handsome face that was comparable to a trap was now covered with crisscrossing scars. He was extremely tired, but he was even more excited. Because, at the end of this battle, the winner was still him, who possessed the innate talent of perception and never made a mistake. The name of the undefeatable Ji Zun would continue to be maintained, forever. Night Empress' body was completely unharmed. Her starlight was still there, but it was slightly dimmer. Her star power had actually reached its limit after 3 days of exhaustion. She could no longer sustain a high-intensity battle. The undefeatable Ji Zun, with his strongest and most tenacious willpower, began to recover bit by bit from being tortured by the enemy. Although he almost died to the fate divine weapon in Night Empress' hands, the fate divine weapon quickly disappeared without a trace. Night Empress' original advantage was no longer there. This battle was very bitter, but in the end, he still managed to recover. He had the last laugh. Night Empress had no more strength to fight and turned into a ray of starlight. Disappeared. If Dongfang hadn't arranged for the two of them to fight in a clear sky world with the most negative star power, if Ji Zun hadn't used the Radiance Mountain's divine power to continuously support him at the most difficult moment, this battle would have been impossible to turn around. I knew it. My innate talent would never be wrong. My undefeatable record will never end. Ha! The undefeatable Ji Zun was in an extremely good mood. If it wasn't for the fact that he had no energy left, he would have wanted to keep Night Empress as a strong enemy. It was a little regretful. However, it was enough to be able to win. The rest would be left to Dongfang and Ji Zun. Do you want to see me make a fool of myself? Demon Emperor and Jin Di, you are too naive. My undefeatable record will forever be maintained, because I am the one and only undefeatable Ji Zun in the history of the Heaven Realm. The undefeatable Ji Zun sneered at the image in the sky. I have a question. Demon Emperor paused. How long has it been since you last summoned your grimoire? What do you mean? The undefeatable Ji Zun was stunned. What he means is, when you were fighting against Titan Yu, did you open your grimoire again to check on your innate talent? Is there a possibility that your previous innate talent might be correct or wrong? If you did not correct it in time, you might be misled by your previous innate talent. Alright, that's all I have to say. When Supreme Jin finished, he did not look at the undefeatable Ji Zun anymore. He already knew the answer. You're already a dead man. Demon Emperor became even bolder. Before the battle with Titan Yu, I already had my suspicions. Now I have every reason to believe that you've already died because of your innate talent. Impossible. I am undefeatable. My innate talent will always be correct. The undefeatable Ji Zun's face turned pale, as if he had thought of a terrifying possibility. He reached out and tried to summon his grimoire. The grimoire did not react. The undefeatable Ji Zun screamed in despair. No, I am the undefeatable Ji Zun. My innate talent must be correct. It can't be wrong. The grimoire can't disappear. This is an illusion. This is an illusion that the enemy has given me. No, I must still be in the middle of the battle. I must still be tormented by the enemy's illusion. Victory will always belong to me. I am the only undefeatable Ji Zun in the upper heaven realm. When his willpower collapsed, his divine body began to dissipate. Strand by strand, slowly but unstoppably, it dissipated between heaven and earth. The more nervous and frenzied the undefeatable Ji Zun was, the faster his divine power dissipated. I haven't lost. I haven't lost yet. The Radiance Mountain's divine power spring is still here. I can still hold on. The final victory will belong to me. This will never be wrong. Amidst his fear, the undefeatable Ji Zun realized that there was an endless supply of divine power coming from behind him. This was the undefeatable Ji Zun's support. At this slow rate, the undefeatable Ji Zun was terrified. With his vast divine power and endless support, the undefeatable Ji Zun estimated that he could hold on for at least a year. And the final victory did not even need a year. It only needed 10 days, no, 7 days. Then, the entire battle would be decided. The Radiant Mountains camp would be victorious, and the Tong Tian Tower's camp, Titan Yu, would be defeated. Although he did not understand why the grimoire could not be summoned, the undefeatable Ji Zun still believed that he would be the final victor. I will not lose. Because I am the undefeatable Ji Zun, who has never failed and will never be defeated. The undefeatable Ji Zun held on to this belief. For the past 3 days, he had endured the torment of the Night Empress like this. He completely believed that as long as he continued to hold on, the final victory would belong to him. Too scary. The two-headed dragon Guang and the other upper heaven realm warriors almost wet their pants in fear. They were not fools. Even a fool would understand what it meant when a divine grimoire could not be summoned. The undefeatable Ji Zun must have understood this as well. It was just that he could not accept this terrifying reality. To turn a great leader of the central shrine, one of the 3 great honorable Ji Zun, into a lunatic who did not dare to admit defeat. He even turned him into a dead man in front of everyone. Was this the true power of the Yu clan's 3rd young master Titan Yu? How did he do it? Moreover, why did he do it? If he could easily kill the undefeatable Ji Zun, why would he allow the Night Empress to torture him for 3 days? Titan Yu's target is not the undefeatable Ji Zun, but someone else, someone even stronger. Supreme Jin already had an answer in his heart. He is locking onto the undefeatable Ji Zun. The monster emperor's gaze seemed to be able to see through time. Under the ancient pine tree, the stone chessboard was still there, but the people playing were different. The person who had been standing quietly in the east had disappeared, leaving only an old man who was extremely old and had 1 foot in the grave. The skinny old man saw the Night Empress who had appeared out of nowhere. He did not show any expression, as if he had already known that she would appear. That year, the main cause of Princess Starlight's death was your despicable sneak attack. The undefeatable Ji Zun. Today Yi Yu, the descendant of the Heaven Stairway, will repay this grudge to you. Consider it as a final end for the ancestors. Night Empress picked up a chess piece and gently threw it on the chessboard. You are not qualified to play chess. The old man frowned, indifferently and disdainfully denied. It's not me, it's Titan Yu. I am only playing this chess piece on his behalf. Night Empress agreed. 1 more or 1 less chess piece is useless to the overall situation. The old man shook his head. Yes, but once this chess piece is played, you, as a senior, will fall from the peak of the Radiant Mountain. After Night Empress finished, the entire ancient pine world changed. The stone table disappeared, the chess pieces disappeared, and the world instantly changed into the inner courtyard of the Tian Luo Palace. The guards on duty were still standing outside the door conscientiously and meticulously. A palace maid walked out lightly with quick step. She saw the old man sitting cross-legged on the ground, and seemed to be startled. However, her good upbringing and etiquette quickly calmed her down. She slightly squatted in front of the uninvited guest, bowed with both hands, and then left with light footsteps to deliver the meal to the most respected king. "This is a dream?" The old man slightly twitched the corner of his mouth. "This is a dream that has existed since the day Princess Starlight was killed. For thousands of years, this dream and the person in the dream have never woken up." The king's voice sounded softly. "Welcome, undefeatable Ji-Zun, welcome to the end of the dream. Ha, do you think that with the strength of the two of you, you can kill me, who has the supreme will and the supreme divine throne?" The old man laughed. "Are you sure that you have everything that you said?" Night Empress also laughed. "No matter what you say or do, you can't shake my supreme will, not even a little bit." The old man shook his head, his face full of disdain. "Please wait a moment. After a certain naughty boy falls asleep, we can discuss this topic again. Because I want to tell him what is the real eternity." His Majesty's voice rang out softly, like a clear spring in the forest, gurgling and flowing. Chapter 1362. Yu Yang fell asleep. He happily hugged the Statue of Liberty. Before he fell asleep, his wolf claws were still pressed on the pile of snow made of fragrant jade. His greed was simply endless. In the dream, he seemed to be attracted by some kind of spiritual call. It was also like a kind of summoning force. Before Yu Yang could figure out what was going on, he found himself falling into Her Majesty's mirage. It was different from the first time he fell into the lake. This time he fell onto the hard ground. In a thousandth of a second, Yu Yang turned his body and perfectly adjusted his position of head down and feet up. His body did a beautiful somersault and landed lightly on his feet. If he had to give marks, this reaction and posture could be given full marks. Yu Yang was very satisfied with his performance. He couldn't lose his composure in front of Her Majesty. Although he didn't know why she was looking for him, if he performed well, he would definitely get points, right? "You pervert, what have you been doing all day?" The Night Empress' voice screamed in Yu Yang's ears, giving him a big scare. Only then did Yu Ho realize that he was completely naked. He was standing in front of Yu Ho without a stitch on. Not only was the Night Empress here, there was also a skinny old man sitting on the ground. He looked like he was about to take his last breath. He suddenly felt embarrassed and quickly took out some clothes to put on. He hurriedly put on his pants while asking the Night Empress, "Who is this old man? He doesn't seem very friendly." The Night Empress really wanted to kick this brat into the clouds, but in front of the enemy, she endured it and snorted. "Nonsense, he is the immovable sovereign." Yu Yang was shocked again. Before he could pull up his pants properly, he hurriedly hid behind the Night Empress. Why would such a dangerous big boss come to Tian Luo Palace? Where's Her Majesty? Her Majesty looked at this brat's useless appearance and really wanted to throw out her shoes and smash it on this brat's head. Too embarrassing! If she had known this earlier, she would not have pulled him into this mirage dream world. Yu Yang didn't have any self-awareness. He immediately pulled up his pants and rubbed his palms. This young master is very experienced in fighting bosses. Get out of the way, I'll burst his chrysanthemum. The Night Empress almost covered her face and pretended not to know this idiot. If he could burst it, she would have let him go long ago. Why would she need so much effort now? Did he think the immovable sovereign was made of tofu? Boring. The immovable sovereign pointed his finger. The divine power erupted with billions of rays of light, covering the sky and covering the earth. The sea of light instantly drowned out the entire world. It was unknown whether it was the dream realm or the real Tian Luo imperial palace. Everything had been annihilated. Titan Yu, Night Empress who was surrounded by starlight, and His Majesty who was resting quietly in the palace had all disappeared without a trace. Aside from the old man sitting cross-legged in the middle of the battlefield, nothing else existed. After a long time, an ancient will appeared in the shattered void. The old man could clearly sense it. The corners of the old man's mouth twitched slightly, and it could be considered as a sneer. Why don't we wait for the heavenly chariot to move? This old man can destroy the entire Tong Tian Tower by himself. His figure turned into a beam of divine light. Into the broken void, flying all the way in the direction of the ancient will. Here, there was an entrance to the god's ruins, which was known to everyone in the upper echelons of the central shrine. In addition to the guardian, what really troubled the giants of the central shrine was the ancient prohibition inside. If there was no guide, no one could set a goal in the Times Square of the god's ruins and send out a guide message. It was impossible to enter. Otherwise, the result of waiting was very likely to be the ancient prohibition of tens of thousands of years, or even longer. The immovable sovereign waited for so long. His purpose was not the plot of the East. In his eyes, there was only one person. That was Tian Yu. The number one person of the central shrine, the Temple Supreme, Tian Yu. Before the war, Tian Yu had made a god's contract, agreeing to cooperate to explore and share the gains of the god's ruins. If it wasn't for Deity Temple's Supreme Tian Yu, Ji Motionless had never doubted that he alone would be able to destroy the entire Tong Tian Tower. Of course, if he did that, he would have to bear a huge sin, angering the ancient rankers who came from Tong Tian Tower and provoking an unpredictable disaster. Therefore, he quietly cooperated with the fool of the East who was willing to be the bad guy, and let the guy of the East who gave up his life to bear the disaster of this war. Did he really think that the immovable sovereign, who was at the top of the mountain of light, could be challenged by some of the ants of the Tower of Tong Tian in the lower world? What a joke! The immovable supreme martial artist's heart moved, and he immediately cast aside these trivial matters. In his life, he did not know how many such challenges and how many such endings. As long as it was a failure, as long as it was not an eternal existence, then there was no need for him to remember. In the whole Tower of Tong Tian, he didn't need to remember the prison Emperor Zhanfeng, nor did he need to remember the Starlight Princess, or even the abnormal genius Titan Yu that only appeared once in 10,000 years. These were all past tense. The only thing worth paying attention to was the arrogant conquest queen Fei Wenli. She was the only variable. Of course, this conquest queen Fei Wenli, who might be a variable, would be personally dealt with by the Temple Supreme. This was his task and obligation. After passing through countless time and space, following the extremely dangerous ancient passage, bypassing the time corridor that took 100 years to take a step, and also bypassing the area of the Tower of Tong Tian's ancient will restriction, aiming at the target guided by the Temple Supreme, Tian Yu. According to the most correct direction, he officially entered the Times Square that he had been longing for tens of thousands of years but had never had the chance to see. The immovable sovereign saw the two people confronting each other in the field at a glance. At the entrance of the Times Square. It was not yet the official center. Just at the passage, one on the left and one on the right, there were two super-strong god-level, cautiously confronting each other. The Temple Supreme and Conquest Queen Fei Wenli had not officially started the war yet? It was no wonder that Tian Yu was worried. This Conquest Queen, compared to 10,000 years ago, was much stronger, making people have to look at her in a different light. I'm here. Proud Conquest Queen, long time no see. I didn't expect that after escaping from the Nirvana deification, your strength did not retreat, but went to a higher level. When the immovable sovereign saw Queen Vivian Li, the attitude on his face was no longer as contemptuous as before. His expression was a little serious, and he no longer sat cross-legged on the ground. Instead, he stood up and summoned the divine throne. He let the holy mountain divine throne that he had comprehended stand on his back, allowing the light divine power that was one with the radiance mountain to flow continuously, surrounding the perfect divine body that instantly glowed with youth. At the same time, it was doubled with the divine throne. Get lost. Immovable old ghost, have you forgotten the pain after the knife wound on your body healed? Queen Vivian Lee's temper was very bad, and she scolded people the moment she opened her mouth. Was I the only one who was injured that year? The fist wound on my back, has it already healed? The immovable sovereign heard this and laughed, while paying his respects to Tianyu, the supreme master of the temple, who was standing with his hands behind his back. Despicable old dog, sneak attacking from behind, what kind of expert are you? Queen Vivian Lee sneered. It's easy for you to enter the Times Square, as long as you ask if my sword and saber agree. It's us. The immovable sovereign corrected. It's not just me, there's also Tianyu, and many others. I'll kill whoever comes. Queen Vivian Lee's attitude was very clear. The number of people was not a problem at all. From the beginning, when she intended to conquer the entire heaven realm, the number of enemies was not in her consideration. The immovable sovereign shook his head and disagreed. Sometimes, the strength of two people is far stronger than one person. In your Tong Tian Tower, the phrase outnumbered comes from this, isn't it? Conquest Queen, no one doubts your strength and determination, but you don't know, long before you, we have already tested it. Tested for what? Queen Vivian Lee was very puzzled. When the peerless Emperor Wu Shuang ran amok in the heaven realm, the old man Shen Ji of the heaven realm made a prophecy to the previous generation's supreme candidate that the holy sovereign of the next realm would not be a man of the soaring dragon continent. So, no matter how hard the peerless emperor worked, his fate could not be achieved in the future. In the end, he could only close the Black Tower, depressed, and unable to have a good end. The immovable sovereign pointed at Queen Vivian Lee, his eyes glowing. And you, when you said that you would conquer the entire heaven realm, we tested you again. The result came from the prophecy of the ancient gods. Yen Fei was the daughter of the demon Abyss. The result was obvious, you were sealed by a black hole. If you were not lucky enough to escape, I'm afraid you would have died a violent death. If I'm not the holy sovereign's choice, are others not? Queen Vivian Lee listened, unmoved. If you want to talk about the so-called genius Titan Yu, then, I'm very sorry, if you did not support him from behind, he would simply be a trash. His temperament, even the failed prison Emperor Zhan Feng could not compare. A lecherous little hooligan, an ant from the lower realm, a delusional man who relied on his divine power to run amok as a playboy, dared to touch the position of the holy sovereign? What a joke! The immovable sovereign laughed loudly. His laughter was like thunder, then his voice paused, as cold as a knife cutting. The old man Shen Ji used his last effort to make a prophecy for the third time. The holy sovereign's position is not a person of Tong Tian Tower. Even if he is not a person of Tong Tian Tower, he may not be a person of your Radiance Mountain Central Shrine. Hearing this, Queen Vivian Lee's body trembled slightly. Although she immediately recovered, she was still noticed by the Sky Chariot and the immovable sovereign. Ah! The immovable sovereign looked up to the sky and laughed. Who is the holy sovereign? That is no longer important. The important thing is, your Tong Tian Tower can give up. You want us to give up? The divine light in Empress Fei Wenli's eyes gradually condensed into frost. Even an expert like the unmoving Ji Zun felt a chill run down his spine. There is only one condition. It's very simple. When I flatten the entire Radiance Mountain and send everyone back to the God Prison, while the Heaven Realm and Heaven Realm have no objections, only then will our wish be fulfilled. Can the old man Shen Ji's prophecy represent the ancient will? What a joke! He is old and muddle-headed. You treat his words as the truth, and are doomed to a tragic end. Get lost immediately, and never set foot in Tong Tian Tower again, or choose to die here. Can you teach me how to get lost? The immovable sovereign expressed that he had never learned such a smooth way of leaving. Of course, he was only arrogant verbally. Truly inwardly. Especially cautious. The Conqueror Queen from 10,000 years ago was already fierce enough. Now that she had broken the seal and her strength had increased by leaps and bounds, the Snake Demon Empress was even more difficult to deal with. If it was not for the Divine Temple's supreme heavenly chariot by his side, the immovable sovereign would really not be willing to directly face this terrible woman with a strong killing heart. Queen Vivian Li did not make a move, but there was a voice that sounded like a little hooligan, which sounded like a little punchline, behind the immovable sovereign. Being a teacher, this young master is most willing to do this kind of thing. Am I supposed to say that I was born to teach you how to *ck off? No, I am very low-key. Then, the immovable sovereign felt that his buttocks were kicked hard by someone. Although it was not to the extent of falling and rolling on the ground, it was still very embarrassing. Such a big embarrassment. And in front of an old enemy like Queen Vivian Li, the immovable sovereign could not help but feel angry. Who? Who is it? As soon as he turned around, he saw a man with a bright smile and a particularly annoying smile, who was proudly gnawing on a chicken leg. Isn't it your teacher? Teaching you to get lost, rest assured, I will definitely teach you. I guarantee that you will not have to walk for the rest of your life, it will be all scram. Besides, an old turtle's talent is to get lost. If you don't learn it, it will be a waste. You are not dead? The immovable sovereign suddenly thought of a flash. This is still a dream? This is the Times Square. The Night Empress appeared beside Yu Yang. She first gave a certain third young master a smack on the head to tell him not to be too cocky, while explaining to the immovable sovereign indifferently, "Unfortunately, we are separated by a dream." In front of the immovable sovereign, Fei Wenli and the Divine Temple's supreme heavenly chariot were still confronting each other. They were very close, but suddenly the immovable sovereign had a feeling that no matter what power he used, he could not move to the side of the Divine Temple's supreme heavenly chariot because there was a dream in between. Unless he killed the owner of the dream, found the source of the dream, and broke out of the dream, otherwise, he would never be able to move from this dream world to another world. The Divine Temple's supreme heavenly chariot was still standing with his hands behind his back in a cold and arrogant manner. He did not express any opinion towards the immovable sovereign's change. In his eyes, what kind of companion, what kind of ending, was not important at all. The important thing was, what kind of opponent. Queen Vivian Li looked at Yu Yang, then looked at the Night Empress, as if she had found some ambiguous information between the two of them. You guys dream a little further away, I seem to smell something. What? That's not mine, it's all this brat's own nonsense. What does it have to do with me? The Night Empress was embarrassed, and quickly cleared herself. It's just a dream, it's normal to have any kind of dream. Yu Yang said that dreams were strange, and spring dreams were just one of them. Besides, it was not a dream with the Statue of Liberty, it was also uncontrollable. You still say? The Night Empress grabbed a certain third young master's ear and dragged him away. She and Yu Yang left. The scene on the side of Fei Wenli and the Divine Temple's supreme heavenly chariot became fainter and fainter, and finally gradually disappeared. The whole world returned to the inner courtyard of the Tianluo Palace. The guards were still on duty in front of the door, and the little palace maid who came out of the door still came out quickly. When she saw the immovable sovereign, she politely greeted him, but when she saw Yu Yang, she snorted "pervert" from her little nose, because she had been molested by a certain third young master more than once or twice, and she was still angry in her heart. Yu Yang did not care at all, and even looked left and right, as if looking for another pervert. This funny look almost made the Night Empress laugh out loud. The immovable sovereign's face was now solemn. He began to realize that His Majesty, who was guarding the god's wasteland, was not an enemy that could be easily defeated with strength. Eternity is the foundation of everything. His Majesty's voice sounded softly, giving Yu Yang a new revelation. Anything in the world, if it does not have the characteristic of eternity, then it is like the sand castle by the sea, the waves, nothing exists. Therefore, strength, treasures, war beasts, divine thrones, and the like are not the most important. The important thing is how you make them eternal in your life, how you give them such a characteristic. Do you understand? Well, now I finally understand what my first divine throne will be. It was only at this time that Yu Yang really came to a realization. The previous confusion. It was swept away. Chapter 1363. Yu Yang had no idea what the final outcome of the battle between His Majesty and the immovable sovereign was, because, as soon as the immovable sovereign made a move, His Majesty immediately kicked him out of the eternal dream of the mirage. His mind was disconnected. Yu Yang immediately woke up. In his arms, the Statue of Liberty was still dreaming, her little face overflowing with an indescribable sweet happiness. She lay in the arms of the man from another world, her slender white and tender arms half hugging his neck, as if in a dream. She wanted to hug him tightly, unwilling to let go for a moment. Yu Yang opened his eyes and retracted his wolfish claws from the pile of snow. For a moment, he was still in a dream. Did I really enter His Majesty's dream? Really see the confrontation between the Night Empress and the immovable sovereign? Really see Queen Vivian Li and the mysterious Supreme Sky Chariot in front of the Times Square? Was that a dream? Or did it really exist? What about the revelation he got in the dream? What's wrong? Yu Yang's movement awakened the Statue of Liberty. Half awake, she sat up with him. Nothing, go back to sleep. The man from another world hurriedly comforted her, bowed his head, and kissed her lightly. When she continued to sleep, he quickly got up. Give all things in me an eternal quality, put everything in me into eternity. This is His Majesty's revelation, but how should I do it? First use the divine power of fate to complete an eternal throne? Yu Yang gently held up the trial grimoire. He stretched out his hand and felt inside. He hoped to get more enlightenment and spiritual enlightenment. Then, he stared at the pure star for a long time. Eternity? Eternity is the foundation of everything. Without it, then everything will become small, everything will become the past. Even if the powerful immovable sovereign, even if he has the holy mountain throne and his whole spirit is connected to the light god mountain, in the face of eternity, he is just a tragedy that can't even surpass other people's dreams. In the face of eternity, no matter how strong the divine power is, it is also empty and powerless. Yu Yang said to himself. The feeling in his heart became stronger and stronger, and the inspiration accumulated more and more. But he needed an outbreak, a certain ignition point. Sparks of inspiration erupted in an instant. Who can tell me the foundation of eternity? No, who can tell me the foundation of the eternal God throne? Where do I start? Yu Yang understood, and made up his mind to try to achieve his own eternal God throne. However, he still did not know what his first eternal goal should be. Divine Grimoire. Unknowingly, the divine fog had enveloped the entire grimoire world. Three little Lolas slowly walked over from afar. When they arrived in front of him, Yu Yang rubbed his eyes and looked at them again. He realized that they had unknowingly turned into the three god messengers of creation, destruction, and eternity. From cute little Lolas, they had turned into the three white sisters of different sizes and heights. The Eternal in the lead pointed at the trial scripture and smiled. If eternity is the foundation of your life, then you need to first create a world that completely belongs to you. Only then can you settle everything in your life before destruction arrives. Why the grimoire? Yu Yang understood the conditions of eternity, but he was still puzzled. Because the grimoire is the foundation of creating a world. The pink round face was creation. She smiled at Yu Yang's question. You have passed the trial. You will create the future you need in a world that originally did not belong to you. At the same time, you can also destroy the past that you do not need. The heroic destruction added. When everything becomes your eternity, then you can add or create anything you want on this foundation. The leading Eternal held the star-like divine light in her palm and gently handed it to Yu Yang. When you truly achieve eternity, you will understand that eternity is just a beginning. On the foundation of eternity you can still expand. You can expand your life, your will, your possessions, your needs, your home, your destiny, and so on. You can continue to achieve a higher and higher future. As for the God Throne, it is just a representation of your realm. It is a standard set for all living things in your life. Or, it is a door that you can freely enter or a rule that you set according to your will. This is not all of you. On the contrary, this is actually your beginning. Your future is that of the Divine Sovereign. You do not need to be like others and regard the God Throne as the highest standard and realm. What you need to do is to achieve a God Throne and set the next rule so that all living things that follow you can live happily and worry-free in your world according to this standard. Think back to your enlightenment in the endless world. That was your most wonderful and perfect masterpiece. At that moment, the origin of your God Throne was actually born. Yu Yang heard this. His heart shook. He remembered all kinds of things in the endless world. In the last enlightenment, he exhausted all his efforts and finally created an object that did not belong to the special constant space. Moreover, it was an unexpected life form. Was that the origin of his God Throne? That was the origin of eternity? Was this the real purpose of the trial set by the ancient great God? Perhaps it was the depths of the soul, or perhaps it was the source of devouring in the body. Anyway, even Yu Yang himself was confused. A ray of spiritual light shot out. An extremely small loli, as small as a girl's finger, suddenly flew out. She was riding on a sky dragon that looked like a small golden beast. A red ribbon made of Nirvana's flame was coiling around her delicate body. A small silver ring hung on her left arm. No matter how you looked at it, it looked like the wheel of eternity. On the right, it looked like the wheel of world exterminating. There was an extremely small divine ornament rune between her eyebrows. Even Yu Yang did not know what it was. He could only guess that it was an extremely special and extremely rare immemorial rune. What shocked Yu Yang the most was that behind Tiny Tot, there was a mysterious God Throne that looked like a black hole. The starlight inside was faintly discernible. Its realm and power were beyond Yu Yang's imagination. At the outermost part of the God Throne, there was a wisp of divine light of wisdom that lingered like a rainbow. This was created by me? Yu Yang stretched out his hand. Tiny Tot rode on the sky dragon and spun around his palm happily. She really liked to be close to him. Yes, this is the first eternity that you created. Even the will of the ancient gods cannot deny her birth. In other words, in this world, there is no existence that can affect her, and no person or power can deny her eternity. The small round face's eyes were as happy as a little mother's. He looked at the lowly and could not bear to blink. Think back to your enlightenment at that time. Heroic destruction also laughed. If you look back, you will find that everything is so simple. What God Throne? That was just your will. You could easily create it. Creating a perfect and eternal world is what you should do. The leading eternal God also expressed that the Holy Supreme who made the God Throne difficult was amusing, although this Holy Supreme was still in the future. I didn't know I was so awesome. The guy from another world was sweating. Hey, you've always been a big idiot, okay. Pandora, who was eavesdropping at the side, immediately retorted, who was the one who was frowning just now? You're so smart, but you didn't tell me. A certain third young master had always been thick-skinned, and did not take a small blow seriously. Yu Yang did not even need to do anything to condense the God Throne. The little lowly had an unimaginably huge power. Moreover, without Yu Yang's command, as long as Yu Yang willed it, she would immediately hold the star above her head. A kind of power that was at the level of an ancient god to Yu Yang instantly condensed the perfect image of the God Throne in Yu Yang's heart and filled it with endless runes and laws. Yu Yang thought that it was formed, but she pointed with her little finger. The world-exterminating wheel was formed inside the God Throne, and with another point the eternal wheel was formed. At the center of the God Throne, it was as if a lotus had bloomed. A ball of nirvana flame surged out and formed a wonderful and beautiful nirvana lotus throne. The little lowly jumped up and waved the nirvana red silk in the center. The nirvana flower that looked like a thorny flower and a thorny vine surrounded the inner edge of the God Throne. Immediately after, a black dog like Tuan Tuan squeezed in with all its might, trying to fight for a position. Maybe it saw that the outside world was looking at it. It even waved its paw and made a victory sign. Countless specks of light descended from the sky. Each of them had a different image. There were Yikongs, Fatty Highs, the Li brothers, countless peoples and countless beasts. More and more of them appeared. In the end, they formed a waterfall of light that was absorbed into the black hole of the Divine Throne. This is really awesome. Yu Yang's mouth was so wide that 2 big steamed buns could be stuffed inside. Yes. Xiaonu was also very excited. Do your best. Continue to work hard, you must create the best. Xiaonu's little round face was like a little mother, raising her little fist and cheering for the little lowly. After an unknown period of time, the first God Throne that represented eternity in Yu Yang's life was finally condensed successfully. The little lowly did not give Yu Yang a chance to praise him. Maybe it was because he was tired. He yawned and made a closing gesture with his little hand. The whole magnificent God Throne instantly turned into a black hole. Other than the faintly discernible stars, there was nothing else. If one did not know, they would definitely think that this God Throne was the lowest level elementary God Throne. However, who would have guessed that this was the highest level that only a divine lord could have, the highest God Throne? Of course, only Yu Yang realized that during the process of creation, especially when the waterfall of light was falling from the sky, there was a mysterious force that was quietly helping him. It integrated an invisible will into it, accelerating and multiplying the evolution of this eternal God Throne. If not for this mysterious force, this eternal God Throne would not have been born so quickly. It must be the heavenly sword goddess. She was always silently protecting him from behind. Yu Yang's heart was moved, but he did not show it on his face. If she was really the granddaughter of the old Taoist, then he would forget about the kick in the butt. Anyway, he would just have to make her his wife. Respecting teachers and respecting the old and loving the young. He also had that. The shameless guy from another world hugged Xiaonu and spun a few rounds. Suddenly, he thought of something. Since you guys are done with the God Throne, then what am I responsible for? Divine Grimoire. The Eternal in the lead handed over the Trial God Grimoire. Every blade of grass, every tree, every stone, every grain of sand, every heaven and earth, everything needs to be transformed by your will. Once you completely transform everything inside into an eternal existence, then you will be the true master. Otherwise, you will just be a God Grimoire keeper, no different from us. Heavens, how long do I have to do this? Yu Yang was stunned when he heard this. Damn, how big was this damned Divine Trials Grimoire? He hadn't even finished exploring it yet. If he were to convert it all, how long would that take? Take it slowly, we are not in a hurry. The heroic Annihilation seriously patted Yu Yang's shoulder. What about you guys? Yu Yang decided to drag someone down with him. We are responsible for watching over you and supervising you. Yes, we are responsible for this job. The heroic Annihilation showed that he had a lot of authority. Do your best, do your best. The only person who had complete confidence in Yu Yang was the round-faced creation. If it wasn't for her going back on her word, her kind heart might even sympathize with him and help him. Aya, what the F***? Yu Yang suddenly remembered that he had 3 grimoires. Furthermore, this trial grimoire seemed to be the worst out of the 3 grimoires. If he had to change all 3 grimoires, he wouldn't be able to finish them all in his lifetime. Damn, who said that it was a good thing to have many grimoires? If he had too many grimoires, he would be exhausted to death. Knowing that he couldn't shirk his job, Yu Yang had a bitter face as he held the divine grimoire. His excitement from evolving the eternal divine throne had disappeared. However, the thick-skinned Yu Yang thought of another way to slack off. He expressed that he would accept the task of converting the grimoire himself, but the Holy Grimoire and Divine Grimoire's divine throne hoped that the 3 sisters would help. The 3 sisters heard this and left. They didn't even look back. Suddenly, a sweet voice sounded beside his ear. In the end, the wildflowers are more fragrant. The whole house is full of flowers, but there are people who can't see them. Instead, their eyes are fixed on the little butts of the wildflower sisters. Damn, the vinegar jar at home was about to collapse. In a split second, Yu Yang jumped up and warmly shook hands with the person behind him. Welcome home. I, the guard captain, will take care of the city mistress bedwarming mission. I guarantee a free trial and 3 guarantees of quality. Hey, isn't this Tigress? Welcome, although you have a straight face, you look especially energetic. You are indeed energetic. In the blink of an eye, you have already pushed down one. If you had returned a little slower, you would have probably taken down the other 3. A certain tigress glared at the guilty Yu Yang with her tigress eyes. Xuanyo, help me say some good words. You also know that I have always been the most obedient. I have never done anything like stealing food. A certain third young master asked for help everywhere. It's okay to steal food once in a while, we are already mentally prepared. A certain Xuanyo comforted him kindly. Go and die. A certain tigress took out her divine sword. Sister Yu, save me. The only one who could save him, and was also the only one who was willing to help him, was his good sister, who loved him dearly. The eternal divine throne is so beautiful. I wonder what the other 2 divine thrones are like? In her sister's heart, her brother was always so perfect. Such a small matter wouldn't affect her at all. Furthermore, it wasn't the first time that her sister-in-law had chased after her brother with a sword. She was already used to it. On the contrary, she was more interested in the other 2 divine thrones. The first was the eternal divine throne. What would the second and third divine throne be like? Chapter 1364. Alright, let's get down to business. After fooling around for a while, Shui Wuxia clapped her hands and signaled everyone to come closer to discuss the fated duel. Should we not go out for now? The Radiant Guardian Sovereign is 40,000 meters tall, the Dead Sea Guardian is 60,000 meters tall, and the Deity Temple Sovereign Tian Yu is probably even more powerful. These old ghosts are too strong, we can't fight them now. Southern Demon King felt that these bosses' levels were too high. If they were not careful, they would be wiped out. It was impossible to farm them now. There's also the Ancient One, who is more than 10,000 meters tall with just one hand. That's the scariest one, all right? Lady Catastrophe loved to talk back to her. Although it was quite good in private, the 2 of them were born to go against each other. They quarreled every day, and their mouths were unforgiving. That's the Heaven Realm Guardian, not the bosses we are fighting. Yu Yang sweated profusely. That was impossible to fight. The Ancient One, who loved to sleep, had probably become a divine sovereign long ago. It was just that for some unknown reason, he had been staying in the Heaven Realm to watch over them. An existence like the Ancient One would not be able to participate in the matters of the lower realms. The mystic dragon bringing him to him was a test, as well as a form of verification. The Ancient One did not care and did not dissuade him. This proved that the fated duel was possible. Otherwise, the demon dragon would not bring him to him no matter how muddle-headed he was. Princess Sisai agreed with him. Yes, we don't have to worry about that. However, I am most worried about the senior who sealed Queen Vivian Lee back then. Sky Law, however, waved his hand. The matter at that time was very complicated. Empress Fei Wenli did not mention it to us. There should be a reason for her to do so. After all, her killing had reached an extremely dangerous level. The Guardian of Radiance Mountain and many old ghosts would not sit idly by. Perhaps the black hole seal itself was a form of protection, or perhaps it was a purposeful and strict test. No one knows the exact truth. Let's assume that things are positive and not be too pessimistic. Let's not worry about Queen Vivian Lee for now. She does not need us to interfere. Let's focus on our fated duel with Brat Yu first. Most people agreed with what she said. Even Yu Yang quickly reached out to give Sky Law a thumbs up. There was no need to worry about Queen Vivian Lee. His Majesty, who could not restrain the supreme martial artist in the mirage, could also temporarily let go. Right now, including Yu Yang, no one had the ability to enter her dream and help her. Her Majesty will win. She never does anything she's not sure of. Yu, the considerate sister, was afraid that her brother would be distracted, so she comforted him. The Night Empress is helping her. Only Bao Er, this heartless little girl, would think that the Night Empress was an important help in defeating the immovable Ji Zun. If she didn't say it, everyone didn't think much of it. But now that she said it, everyone laughed. I will go with you to serve the fruit platters for everyone. Xiaonu will not be able to handle it alone. Xia Yi hurriedly pulled her away. Anyway, I think so. The Night Empress is also very powerful. Last time, she even gave me a very beautiful and powerful star elf warbeast. She will definitely have no problem defeating that old man. Bao Er felt that her persuasion was not enough. She wanted to give an example, but was pulled away by Xia Yi. The Night Empress was very powerful. Everyone naturally knew that, but it would be a bit difficult to defeat the immovable Ji Zun. After all, he was an old ghost who had the Holy Mountain's divine throne and his spirit was connected to the Radiant Mountain. As long as he was not killed instantly, then the Radiant Mountain's endless divine power, under the guidance of the Holy Mountain's divine throne, would continue to support the immovable Ji Zun. The immovable Ji Zun was able to keep pace with Tian Yu and other super strong people in the Heaven Realm, so there was a reason for him to look down on the world. It was a pity that he met the most terrifying opponent, a nemesis of His Majesty. His Majesty's dream was unbreakable. Even someone as strong as Tian Yu did not dare to underestimate it. The immovable Ji Zun definitely hit an iron plate this time. And this did not rule out that Tian Yu had the intention to kill him with a borrowed knife. Especially his performance in front of the Times Square. This made Yu Yang even more suspicious. Well, let's not think about His Majesty's matter. Maybe the immovable Ji Zun really died in the hands of the Night Empress. Don't forget the ability of Bao Er, that little girl. Her mouth is usually not reliable, but sometimes it is quite accurate. Otherwise, how could she be called a lucky baby? Shui Wuxia smiled and defended. If that's the case, then the immovable old ghost is too unlucky. City Lord Fallen Flowers was overjoyed when she heard this. She laughed until her shoulders shook. In the end, the more she thought about it, the funnier it was. She couldn't help but fall into Yu Yang's arms. That's impossible. Princess Sisai shook her head and said, How can Bao Er's little mouth have that ability? She usually accidentally hit the jackpot once or twice because she dared to think about anything. Well, let's not talk about other things first. The most important thing is to improve a certain third young master's combat power. Don't look around and play dumb, I'm talking about you. The Guardian of the Dead Sea has the peerless Emperor, who has traded away a piece. but the guardian of light is someone we must face. Even if the demon dragon joins us, it will still be useless. Have you ever thought of a terrifying possibility? The demon dragon might be forced to stay out of this because he is not a member of Skysplit Tower. If Tianyu starts the fated duel, the demon dragon may have to stand outside and not be able to help. Doesn't that mean that Master has to fight the Light Guardian Ji Zun and the temple's supreme Tianyu alone? Lu Yi was anxious when she heard this. There's still us. Sickly Beauty quickly comforted her. Well, I will also work hard. Yu Bing knew that she couldn't beat the god level, but she wouldn't give up. She was determined to help her brother fight to the end of his life. Bing don't be anxious. Let's think of a way first. Maybe we can play a bigger role in other aspects. Yu hugged her sister. Her words represented everyone's thoughts. You have the Book of Truth and received the inheritance of the Goddess of Wisdom. There must be a way. You say it. Princess Sisai handed this heavy responsibility to Shui Wuxia. What are we going to do? In an instant, everyone came closer. Even Yu Yang was no exception. Shui Wuxia didn't say anything, but pointed at the Statue of Liberty. Everyone knew what happened to Yingluo, who was promoted from the Queen of Liberty to the Statue of Liberty. Could it be that they had to use that method? Yingluo saw that everyone was looking at her strangely. She couldn't help but feel ashamed. She covered her face with her hands and buried her head in her chest. She didn't dare to look at everyone again. If it wasn't because she hoped that she could help Yu Yang, she would have run away in embarrassment. Yu Yu's face was also red. She was the elder sister. How could she, but her brother and Sky Chariot were about to have a fated battle. If he lost her help and lost, wouldn't she be the greatest sinner of all time? But even if that was the case, he couldn't do this. It was too reckless. If outsiders found out, it would be over. No, he couldn't affect Little Sand's reputation either. He was the future divine sovereign who would rule over the world. He definitely couldn't. She hoped to help her brother but was tortured by the restrictions of the world. She really didn't know what to do. However, if it was the most dangerous time, even if she had to sacrifice herself, she must. You want that so soon? I'm not mentally prepared yet. Sky Disaster felt that it would be easier to call him brother-in-law. She would feel more at ease when extorting treasures. But doing it seemed comfortable. Sister Sky Law loved doing it with him. It didn't seem bad to try it. If it felt so good, it wouldn't be a problem to help him. As for the title, she would still call him brother-in-law. She was too lazy to change it. Idiot, what are you thinking all day long? Sky Law slapped her little but angrily. She is referring to the god, silly girl. Is she talking about the god? Sky Disaster bit her little finger in surprise. Not pa. Pa. Sky Law slapped her little but more than 10 times. The little girl was so scared that she hurriedly got up and ran away. When she ran far away, she turned back and made a face. She eavesdropped on this term. When the guy from another world and her elder sister did the shameful things, there were often some unbearable conversations. After listening to it a few times, she learned a lot and learned a lot of positions. Sky Law spread her hands helplessly. It's all because I spoiled her too much. After Sky Disaster's misunderstanding, everyone's awkwardness disappeared. Yu Yang, who was muted, didn't have to pretend anymore. He quickly jumped up and said, "The question about the god is actually very simple." Before he finished speaking, Princess Sisai immediately punched him. "You don't need to say anything about the god. You just need to get rid of the perverted things in your heart." Everyone laughed. Because of the telepathic connection, the guy from another world had some strong psychological fluctuations. Fortunately, everyone could ignore it. Otherwise, it would be unbearable to continuously sense it all day long. Yu Bing looked at everyone, not really understanding. Because a certain wolf was a good brother, he hid it well in front of his sister. Therefore, she almost couldn't sense her brother's special psychological fluctuations. Even if they lived together, she rarely got some bad information. In comparison, her sister Yu was in more pain. So it's the god. Lu Yi was bashful and relieved. At the same time, there was a trace of disappointment in her heart. However, she was shocked and quickly suppressed it. Yu Yang helped the Statue of Liberty to continue its body and became the god of liberty. Everyone could sense the process and understood it without much explanation. But why did Shui Wuxia specify that the key to promotion was the god? Could it be that Yu Yang had to help everyone become a god? If that was the case, wouldn't it take a lot of time? 4 of the 10 days in the east had passed. Was there still time? Shui Wuxia shook her hand lightly, indicating that it wasn't the case. When Yu Yang also sat down to listen seriously, Shui Wuxia smiled and said, "If there are 2 more gods' throne, then the eternal god's throne is the foundation that Yu Yang has mastered now. Let's not think about the 2 gods' throne first. It can be said that it's not something that he can have and achieve now." Why do you say that? Yu Yang's future is not some god's throne, but a divine supreme or even higher. We have always been limited to the god's throne. If we change our thinking a little, we don't need to help him achieve a god's throne, but at the starting point of this god's throne, at the current eternal god's throne, we can help him achieve this realm and this level of the indestructible god's body. Yu Yang was stunned. What did this mean? Did Xuanyo mean that the eternal god's throne was just a temporary god's throne, and there would be better ones in the future? Seeing Yu Yang's inquiring gaze and everyone's confusion, Shui Wuxia smiled. Actually, when the 3 oracle sisters appeared, I understood a little. Sure enough, they were the first to enlighten Yu Yang and the first to help him achieve the god's throne. They taught Yu Yang the meaning of eternity. Only eternity is the foundation, the starting point of all his achievements in the future. This is why Yu Yang's god's throne is the eternal god's throne. He didn't just create this realm and this little thing. He still wants to continue upwards and create a new world at a higher level. For example, the current grimoire world is growing together with him. Now that Yu Yang is still growing, he naturally can't fix the god's throne. As for the other divine grimoire, I can't say too much about it at the moment. I can only say that Yu Yang will definitely have his own destiny and will naturally walk towards a higher level. Before he completely controls his own destiny, I don't think Yu Yang will be able to evolve the 3rd god's throne. The requirements for that are much higher, much higher. One day, with the support of the eternal god's throne, Yu Yang creates his own new world and completely controls his own destiny. It won't be too late for him to attack the 3rd god's throne with our support. Hearing this, Princess Sisai took a deep breath and her eyes flashed. I understand. Then, what can we do for him with the foundation of the eternal god's throne? I mean, how can we help him complete an indestructible divine body that can defeat Tian Yu and win the fate battle? It's very difficult but also very easy. Shui Wuxia passed the trial grimoire to Yu Yang and said with a smile, "Control the grimoire, and the indestructible divine body will be completed naturally." God, how long will that take? Yu Yang was completely shocked. Maybe it won't take a day, maybe it will take 10,000 years. If you can recall the wisdom you created in the endless world in the constant space, the trial grimoire will be easily converted and completely under your control. If you can't reach that state, forget about 10,000 years, even 100,000 years, or even 1,000,000 years might not be enough. Shui Wuxia held Yu Yang's face with both of her hands and stared into his eyes seriously. Listen, the most outstanding man in my heart, I believe in you, because you really are a peerless genius that only appears once in 10,000 years. I believe in you, because you are truly a peerless genius that only appears once every 10,000 years. You are even more outstanding than Prison Emperor Zhan Feng, Empress Fei Wenli, and even Emperor Wu Shuang. No one can deny that you are the true peerless genius. You are also the choice of fate. This task is impossible for anyone else in this world, only you can do it. We will support you and help you with all our strength. If you don't want us to become despairing widows, then you have to take action now. If you hesitate a little more, Deity Templar's supreme heavenly chariot will be ahead of you and surpass you. We started slow, but as long as we work hard, we still have a chance. For us, please work harder. I know it's hard, but we believe that you will create a miracle. We will also accompany you and create this miracle with you. Shui Wuxia kissed Yu Yang softly. Through this method, she passed on the most sincere and primitive feelings in her heart to him. Xiao San, we support you. Yu Yu hugged him from behind with tears streaming down her face. She hugged her most beloved brother tightly. Let's create a miracle together. Princess Sisai stretched out her hand and pressed it on Yu Yang's shoulder. Everyone stood up and stretched out their hands. Although they didn't know what to do, their hearts were all on him. No matter what price they had to pay, no matter what sacrifice they had to make, they all hoped that they could help him on his journey in life. Success, they must help him succeed, control the divine grimoire, and achieve the eternal immortal divine body. Tears of excitement dripped down. Some dripped onto Yu Yang's shoulder. Some, like broken jade, splashed onto the treasured book of trials in Yu Yang's arms. As Yu Yang felt these thoughts that were like a warm current, his heart surged like a tsunami, and he was so excited that he couldn't restrain himself. Just when he was about to shout towards the sky and vent the emotions that he could no longer suppress, suddenly, a clear sound that was like the sound of nature resounded from the depths of his soul. Along with this sound that overlapped with each other and was indescribably beautiful, the sound of nature resounded in Yu Yang's mind, as if he had broken through some kind of barrier. Boundless enlightenment erupted with a loud bang. A pillar of nirvana flame rose up from under Yu Yang's feet, bathing everyone within it. Chapter 1365. Divine Grimoire World, First Stage, Rain Valley. Yu Yang focused all of his attention on this page of the Divine Grimoire. The ancient forbidden space law, duplication law, labyrinth law, fog and rain law were all in his mind, including the structure of the space, the energy of heaven and earth, the combination of runes and so on. At the same time, there were also the information imprints of the warriors who had entered the divine grimoire before, as well as the souls of the beasts and warriors who had died in the Rain Valley after failing the challenge. Even the reason why the Rain Valley was created, how to guide the trial, how to imprison and protect it, how to set up the rules of punishment. Everything was there. Just the Rain Valley alone has already formed an incomparably complex world. If the entire divine grimoire was connected, how spectacular would it be? Yu Yang suddenly had this kind of feeling. If it was before, he would definitely give up on continuing, because the Rain Valley was only the beginning of the divine grimoire. With his current strength, it was impossible to completely transform it. But with Shui Wuxia's encouragement and everyone's support, Yu Yang threw away all distracting thoughts. It was the first time in his life that he was so confident and also the first time in his life that he was so calm and rational. The giant of fate did not appear, nor did he lose his rationality. It was Yu Yang himself, for the first time, who felt that he had a boundless divine power, that he could create any impossible feat, not to mention changing the divine grimoire. Even if it was creating a new world, I can still succeed. Yu Yang's heart was already filled with gratitude for everyone's support. Shui Wuxia and the others also quietly accompanied him with their thoughts. There was not a single ripple. They didn't want any of their own distracting thoughts to interfere with or affect the process of Yu Yang controlling the divine grimoire. The virtue that he controlled and achieved could not tolerate any impurities, but they also didn't want him to feel lonely during this process. Thus, they decided to quietly accompany him like this, even if it was for thousands of years, until he succeeded. Destroy. Yu Yang remembered that the three gods' envoys had said that destruction was the best creation, and creation was also the best destruction. What he needed to do now was to destroy. Destroy all the laws that existed in the ancient era. These were the wills of the ancient gods. As long as they existed, as long as even a tiny bit of them remained, the trial scripture would not completely belong to him. The forbidden space law, duplication law, and other laws disappeared like smoke. Yu Yang's current destruction was using his wisdom and understanding of the endless world's constant space to destroy the will of others and create his own eternity. In the instant that they disappeared, they were born again. However, the new laws that were born belonged to Yu Yang's will, and were created by Yu Yang. Even if they were exactly the same as before, their creator was no longer an ancient god, but their new master, Yu Yang. Destroy them all. Yu Yang destroyed the spatial structure of the Rain Valley, the energy of heaven and earth, and the combination of runes in an instant. Under Yu Yang's will, the souls of the warriors who failed the challenge, the souls of the beasts, and the information imprints left behind by the strong challengers were either thrown out of the divine grimoire and reincarnated into the heaven realm, or changed according to their original will, becoming the living beings of the new world. Yu Yang felt that his divine power was being used up like a flood bursting through a dam when he was paying back or clearing away these dead souls. If not for the continuous support from the eternal God Shrine, he would have long become a dried corpse. Since the ancient era, who knows how many millions of Heaven Realm warriors, Tong Tian Tower and other lower realm warriors, had come to challenge Yu Yang. Who knows how many beasts had been sacrificed. The amount of divine power that had to be cleared was even greater. However, Yu Yang did not have a second choice. He felt that he was like a river. His divine power was like water, flowing endlessly into it, and instantly evaporating into nothingness. Most of the warriors' souls were obsessed with their hometown. Yu Yang would send their souls back. Those who had committed grave sins would be directly annihilated or punished by the laws. The punishment would be turned into the rocks and gravel of the new world, until their sins were cleared. A small number of beasts, for meat to drive them away. There were also some beast souls that were abandoned by their masters who were willing to become beasts and become the living beings of the new world, serving the new master loyally. They no longer had intelligence, but their primitive nature knew that this was the best chance for a new life, so most of them were unwilling to leave. Create the Rain Valley, no, the Human Valley. Yu Yang's idea of creation produced a wonderful inspiration. He decided not to copy the Rain Valley, but to create something completely new. The space of the Rain Valley was shattered and annihilated. Even the laws of the Resting Rain Pavilion and the Imprisonment Law were completely destroyed. Only Uncle Yu was thrown into the endless void, waiting for Yu Yang's final judgment. The new world expanded infinitely in Yu Yang's eternal creation. Maybe the process of creation inside took thousands of years, but the outside world did not even need a second. Just like in the endless world, Yu Yang used his unlimited divine power to create a new world that was 10,000 times bigger than the soaring dragon continent. Originally, he could have created even bigger, but out of consideration for the future, he stopped expanding the law at the limit of 10,000 times the soaring dragon continent. Everything was born. First, it was at the lowest level. The magma was boiling and roaring, and the heat was unbearable. The souls of countless sinful warriors would be firmly imprisoned inside, and the painful punishment would be cleansed immediately. Among them, those with lighter sins would be turned into rocks and gravel, until they were liberated by the wind. Very few good people would get the chance to be reincarnated into a new world. With a little bit of their original soul's spirituality or will, they could be turned into flowers, grass, trees, birds, or beasts. If they contributed to the new world and helped the ruler, then they could even be reincarnated into humans. At the same time when the world was created, Yu Yang refined the various laws. For example, the forbidden space law still existed, but it was not limited to birds. It allowed the existence of similarities and differences. Everything was specially made for the future creatures of the New World to improve their cultivation. Just like the various strange landforms, harsh environments, and unique sceneries that he had seen during his travels in the Heaven Realm, including the 10 great death lands of the soaring dragon continent and the various scenic spots in Tong Tian Tower. In an instant, the new world that Yu Yang named Human Valley rose and was born. Text, with my divinity, create a new text, named Traceless Divine Text, to replace Heaven Runes and Ancient Runes. Yu Yang's mind moved. Previously, he and Sickly Beauty had imagined that the original text that was used to secretly pass on and replace Heaven Runes should be added to the new world. Thus, he specially bestowed divinity and turned it into eternal divine runes. One by one, line by line, they formed a rune formation and entered the new world, evolving into a brand new guidance and enlightenment. Sickly Beauty saw it and tried her best to hold back the excitement in her heart. She was afraid that her emotions and thoughts would destroy and affect the bestowal of divinity. She was not the ruler of the new world, and the new world could not have 2 or more rulers. Therefore, not only her, but everyone else's will could not be involved in it. In the process of Yu Yang's control, they could only watch quietly, silently supporting. Yu Yang did not create his own. Although he could easily achieve it with his current intelligence, he did not. Instead, he chose to bestow divinity on the new text that everyone had researched together. Then, with his eternal divine power and supreme will, he turned these texts into the light of guidance and wisdom for the new world. If Nan Gongxian, the old fox and the others who were lucky enough to participate in the research and development knew about this, who knows how happy they would be. Especially the white-robed brother Shan He, who had been beaten up by Yu Yang because he was talkative and shameless. He, who had become one of the famous people in Tong Tian Tower, had also contributed a lot to the research and development of divine text. The reason was that Nan Gongxian saw that he was very knowledgeable, especially his talent in languages. With the intention of not wasting talent, he let him, Qin Yang, Wen Umo, He Ziyun and the others, who were sent by Yu Yang to learn the Demon Abyss language, organize the information and focus on research and development. They cooperated with Yu Yang and Sickly Beauty to create the new divine text that replaced the Heaven Runes today. The new world was no longer as free to enter as before. One had to be a recognized Heaven Realm warrior, a recognized Tong Tian Tower warrior, or a follower of Yu Yang and his descendants to be qualified to enter to train and improve. Everything belonged to Yu Yang's will, including life and death. The new Human Valley would be similar to the Seventh Gate, Human Valley. It could not be easily killed, and battles had to be carried out under the rules of challenge. As the beginning of the new world of the Divine Grimoire, the first gate, the change from the original Rain Valley to the Human Valley was completely earth-shaking and ubiquitous. When the resting Rain Pavilion was reborn, when Uncle Yu, who had been thrown into the void, returned, he could no longer recognize the Rain Valley that had been imprisoned for tens of thousands of years. How did you do it? The statue of Yu Yang was right in front of him. Because he had created the new world, he had consumed a lot of divine power and accumulated a large amount of weight. His majestic divine body had already exceeded 3,000 meters. Yu Yang bent down and grabbed lightly with his divine hand. The law of imprisonment and the law of punishment on Uncle Yu's body disappeared like smoke. However, in order to be free, Yu Yang's weighed body was shattered. At least 1/10 of it was absorbed by the ancient law, which allowed Uncle Yu to gain true freedom. I'm free. Thank you for your hard work. Yu Yang slightly saluted this senior. I don't dare. Uncle Yu's attitude now was not the same as when he saw Yu Yang pass the trial. He hurriedly saluted back to Yu Yang. It was not only a great gift of freedom, but also a great respect for the future Divine Lord from the bottom of his heart. If you are willing, You can continue to stay here and be a teacher. Yu Yang felt that Uncle Yu was very qualified to be a teacher of the new world. If she is also willing. Uncle Yu was overjoyed, but he also hoped that Granny Sha and Uncle Feng could regain their freedom like him. Granny Sha and Uncle Feng will both come. Coming here is the beginning of the training in the new world. It will be very lively. The future cultivation of the younger generation will all depend on the guidance of the seniors. Yu Yang got the answer and disappeared instantly. At this time, Uncle Yu's face was already covered in tears. Freedom, he thought that he would never be able to regain his freedom in this life. He never thought that he would be able to regain his freedom one day. Moreover, Granny Sha and the others would be his companions. New world, I will definitely cherish every day here. Uncle Yu was moved and saluted the direction where Yu Yang disappeared. You old bastard, you are still alive. Behind him, there was an annoying voice that he hadn't heard for tens of thousands of years. Uncle Yu suddenly turned around and found that it was Uncle Feng's enemy. He rushed over and hugged Uncle Feng tightly. I will definitely live longer than you. I will make you jealous of my happiness for the rest of your life. I will make you unable to close your eyes even when you die. The two old men burst into tears. Although they were enemies, they hadn't seen each other for tens of thousands of years. At this moment, they hugged each other. They only had one feeling. Freedom was the most precious thing in the world. The feeling of being free was so good. How old are you? Are you still a kid? And you are crying so badly. Granny Sha's eyes were red. No one knew when she came to them. Wah wah. The two old men were shaking. It was the people from their dreams who had returned. Her heart was instantly filled with sorrow, and she was both happy and sad. She couldn't restrain herself any longer, and she burst into tears. It was a building similar to the Tong Tian Tower that pierced through the sky. That place was the passage to the second stage of the New World's first stage, Human Valley. It was also another New World's Earth Valley, and even higher up was the Heaven Valley with the knowledge from before he transmigrated, the inheritance from after he transmigrated, the knowledge he gained from his travels in the Heaven Realm and his personal enlightenment, the wisdom of everyone and the secret inheritance of the Dongfang clan. Yu Yang unleashed his infinite divine power. With the infinite wisdom of the Milky Way, he perfected every stage in the New World. The first stage, Human Valley, was just the beginning. A higher starting point and higher guidance would allow his followers and descendants to grow better. In the end, Yu Yang even created a world tree from the endless world, the realm of the gods, for all living beings to live in. The new world would be a new beginning for all living beings. It was also the beginning of Yu Yang's establishment of the indestructible divine body. From the first stage, Human Valley, Earth Valley and Heaven Valley were the training for those below the God Realm. The Love Valley, which was transformed from the original Desire Valley, would become a new God Realm training test. Those who did not transcend would never be able to step into the God Realm. In Yu Yang's new world, there was no so-called true God or false God in the Heaven Realm. There was only one kind, and that was the true God, who could reach the standard of a God throne in the future. The original Beast Valley and Devil Valley were also transformed into more difficult and higher standard. They had to break through the illusory reality and the illusory reality, the Death Valley and Life Valley. You can leave, or you can start anew. I will not acknowledge your original standards, nor will I care about your original failures. If you are willing to open your minds and immediately get rid of your past, and if you are willing to stay, then you must start anew from the first trial. Yu Yang destroyed all the bad things. The good ones stayed. He made a choice for the countless warriors trapped in the Desire, Beast, and Devil Valleys, to leave or to stay. As for the original seventh stage, Human Valley, the changes were even more indescribable. All kinds of laws and modifications made the whole world look new. A brand new order and new laws were suitable for the life and training of the God realm. Because Yu Yang comprehended the most in this valley, Yu Yang purposely connected the tower beyond tower, the mountain beyond mountain, and the sky beyond sky together. He used the passage of gods to run through it, and named it the Valley of Creation. Above that was the Valley of Destruction, that comprehended and trained in destruction. The ninth stage was the Valley of Eternity, that one had to comprehend the eternal God realm before they could set foot into it. Only by cultivating to the end would one reach the end. After Yu Yang reached the divine supreme standard, he created the world tree world of the gods in the endless world. Those who reached the limit of cultivation could enter it and share the eternal, wonderful, and blissful world of the gods with Yu Yang's followers. We are willing to start again. Whether it was the people in the original human valley, the residents of the God kingdom in the mountain beyond mountain, or even the so-called true gods who were sleeping in the sky beyond sky, they were all willing to accept Yu Yang's creation laws and start afresh. Only the heaven-splitting demon Venerable, after Yu Yang broke free from his imprisonment, showed his power and left on his own. As for those living beings that had been destroyed by Yu Yang, they were all returned. This included the ancient laws and ancient shackles that Yu Yang replaced, the endless world and the constant space, and many laws and world structures that far surpassed Yu Yang's current realm. All of these required Yu Yang's divine power to replace or repay them. The entire process might take 100 million years. The entire process of replacing the ancient laws seemed to take an indescribably long time. However, in the outside world, time was often very short. Could be a second, or it could be the time Yu Yang took a breath. When everything in the divine grimoire, including the billions of laws and the endless ancient will, was replaced by Yu Yang, he controlled and ruled. Yu Yang finally achieved the first eternal God body. It was completely formed from the purest divine power. It was formed from the divine grimoire's power. It was 10,000 meters tall. The three divinities of creation, destruction, and eternity formed the most dazzling and majestic undying God body in Yu Yang's current realm. When Yu Yang opened his eyes, he discovered that the giant of fate that he still could not fully control was gradually disappearing from the eternal God body. Its existence gave Yu Yang a clear standard. There was a higher realm. The current eternal God body was just the beginning. It was just his current comprehension. To fully control the giant of fate and become a divine sovereign, he still needed to continue. Thank you. I will work hard. I will continue to work hard. Yu Yang clasped his hands towards the sky. He knew that even if he did not know the truth, the heavenly sword goddess was definitely helping him from behind. Without her, the giant of fate would not have appeared. The eternal God throne would not have been able to easily provide divine power for him to replace the ancient laws and ancient will. She had always been there, but she did not want him to become arrogant. She did not want him to stagnate because of this. Why did you set the eternal God body at 10,000 meters? Princess Sisai did not understand. Yu Yang could have set it even higher. 10,000 meters is a standard. Yu Yang smiled. It does not need to be too high. For now, 10,000 meters is enough. I have already understood the secret of the God body. I cannot tell you now because you cannot fully control divine power. In the future, you can all evolve according to this standard. I guess I have no hope. Bauer still had some self-awareness. A 10,000-meter God body was not something she could think about. There is no need to do that. As long as you understand the realm to the standard, the height of the God body does not matter. You can become 10,000 meters, 100,000 meters, or even higher. But that is useless. If your realm is 1,000 meters, no matter how high you become, it is still the standard of 1,000 meters. So, it is enough to reach the standard of that realm. Height is not everything. Don't think about the God body for now because once you evolve it, it will be easy to fix it. We have to keep going. It is best if you don't evolve it. For now, everyone should first understand the basics of the God level: creation, destruction, and eternity. When everyone comes up, we can think about the God body. As for the God throne, it is even easier. There is no rush. It was rare for Yu Yang to be so patient. He stroked Bao Er's little head and comforted her. I understand. Let's keep working hard. Shui Wuxia felt like this was the beginning of challenging fate. She did not doubt that Yu Yang would fail. How long has it been? When Yu Yang was creating the new world and controlling the God's book, it felt like 100 million years had passed. Of course, he knew it was just an illusion. The outside world had not been that long. Guess. Fallen Beauty winked mischievously. Ah, it can't be 3 hours, can it? Yu Yang felt like he was a genius, so it should not take too long. In your dreams. It's already been 3 days. It's impossible to surpass Mom. Princess Sisai was referring to the unbreakable record. Since entering the endless world, she was the first to succeed in passing in 3 hours. She only stayed for 3 days to pay respect to her seniors. That's not bad. You're almost catching up to Mom. Yu Yang was very satisfied. I wonder how far away he is from Sky Chariot, the deity of the temple? Sky Law deliberately attacked him. In fact, everyone felt that even if he could not defeat Sky Chariot now, he would not suffer a crushing defeat. Was Sky Chariot really that powerful? Could he defeat Yu Yang, who had the God's book and created a new world by replacing the ancient laws and achieving the eternal divine body alone? In a battle of fate, the scales would definitely be balanced. Otherwise, there would be no fight at all. From the fact that Yu Yang's astonishing growth speed had gradually caught up to Sky Chariot's 10,000 years of cultivation, one could know a thing or two. Although the starting time of the two sides was different, the running speed was also different. On the surface, it seemed that Yu Yang had suffered a small loss, but he definitely did not suffer a big loss. According to Shui Wuxia's thoughts, she still felt that it was not necessarily the case. Would Sky Chariot, the deity of the temple, be a match for Yu Yang? Could he possibly be a match for Her Majesty Queen Vivian Li? If not for the peerless Emperor's absolute certainty that it was Yu Yang and the demonic dragon who brought him to the Heaven Realm Guardian God to test him, she would have been even more suspicious. The God's book is finally under the control of the ruler. Next, what should we work on? Yu most hoped that she could help her brother more. It's very important. Shui Wuxia's expression was very serious. Yes. Yu Bing was very excited. She felt that as long as she could help her brother, it would be good. Previously, when controlling the God's book to create a new world, she did not even dare to breathe, for fear that she would disturb her brother. Now that she could help him with her own hands, there was no need to mention how happy she was. We have to be his sparring partner, accompany him to adapt to the battle of the divine body, and also let him rush to a higher realm in this last bit of time. Now, every bit of increase is a bit more chance of winning. Listen, no matter what kind of ideas you have, no matter how difficult or impossible it is, you must take them all out and make things difficult for Yu Yang. That's right, you didn't hear wrongly, because this is the only way to truly treat him well. What he needs the most now is everyone's special training. Any slack may cause him to fail in the destined battle, so everyone must seize the last bit of time and force him to unleash more and greater potential. Shui Wuxia's voice was very soft, but the meaning in her words was very heavy. First, I will go first. Princess Sisai did not have any hesitation. She also knew that time was 1,000 times more precious than usual, and not a single second could be wasted. Outsiders could not participate in the destined battle between Yu Yang and the heavenly chariot. However, she would not give up. Not being able to participate in the battle did not mean that she could not help him. Not only this tigress, but everyone here also had the same thought. Everyone hoped to use their own hands to support the scales of victory for him. Chapter 1366. Space-Time Labyrinth. Fatty Hai, Yi Kong and the others, after a bitter battle and using the human wave tactic, defeated the first guard of the central shrine, the captain, who appeared in front of them. Hoo-hoo, we finally took him down. How many doppelgangers does this guy have? Why can't we finish fighting him after fighting him? Fatty Hai felt that if it wasn't for the human wave tactic and the help of Tao Tai, Star Scorpion and Heaven-Swallowing Beast, they really wouldn't be able to take down this persistent captain. Could it be that God-tier rankers could resurrect themselves? If that was the case, then what was the point of fighting this battle? It would be exhausting. You can stay. Yi Kong decided to continue forward. He knew that the only thing he could do to help Yu Yang was to charge forward. The enemy must have laid thousands of traps. Now, maybe it was just the beginning. If Yu Yang had to charge forward and fight the enemy alone, then what was the point of having so many teammates? Compared to the Eastern Palace Master, who was number one in scheming and scheming, compared to the immovable sovereign who was calm and unperturbed, compared to the deity sovereign Tian Yu who looked down on all the heroes in the heaven realm, people like Captain were simply small characters who guarded the door. If he couldn't even beat the captain, then who else could he beat? Moreover, this was a doppelganger. The real body was still behind, it was even harder to beat. The wind-breath seabird despised Fatty Hai to no end. Seeing that he came closer again after the fight, it couldn't help but roll its eyes helplessly. Stay away from me, and put away your lecherous smile, it doesn't work on me. Fatty Hai was not discouraged, on the contrary, he was full of confidence. I don't blame you, baby, one day you will remember. The wind-breath seabird got goosebumps from the word baby, it screamed crazily. Monkey Yi and Ice Cube, hurry up and take care of your pig head, he's out of the pen again. I'm really going crazy, don't explain, don't say anything, just disappear in front of me immediately, disappear without a trace, it's best if you disappear forever. I said it's impossible, I will never like such a pig head. Please, can you let me maintain some confidence in my own intelligence and vision? I'm a person now, no longer the little bird that was locked in a cage by him. Alright, I also feel that they're not a good match. That's right, just kick him like this, kick him hard. Don't worry about our feelings. Yi Kong nodded his head in schadenfreude. Looks like we still have to save up our moral character. Prince of Tianluo felt that Fatty Hai had done too many bad things, and this was his retribution. My character is also not bad, okay? Sometimes I want to do good things, but I don't have the chance to do so. Fatty Hai felt that everyone had wronged him. Who didn't want to do good deeds? Who wouldn't like to be praised for doing good deeds? It was just that as the eldest of the Yu clan's third young master, his reputation was too great. His name had already shaken the entire Tong Tian Tower. Others would be scared off by his reputation and avoid him. Even if they wanted to do good deeds, they wouldn't have a chance. He had forgotten how he got his two deafening titles, Extremely Cheap Fat Demon and Meat Mountain Demon King. Did he get this from doing good deeds? Xue Tan Lang affirmed, Fatty's character is still there. Fatty Hai was so moved that tears welled up in his eyes. Ice Cube, you really understand me. You're a true confidant. Regarding Fatty Hai's gay feelings, Xue Tan Lang hurriedly took a big step away. Don't come close. I mean, you do have a good character, but when you first contracted the wind-breath seabird, you had already used up all of it. Yi Kong held back his laughter and seriously helped him recall, it seems like it's really like that. Ever since then, Fatty has never saved up his character. Instead, he has done a lot of evil deeds, such as harming flowers and plants. The Li brothers also agreed with Yi Kong that Fatty Hai had a bad character. They simply clapped their hands in agreement. They nodded their heads. Fatty Hai wouldn't be able to explain himself even if he had 300 mouths. When he saw the wind-breath seabird's expression, he couldn't help but feel sad. I want to commit suicide, no one can stop me. Are you sure? The girls will belong to someone else. Yi Kong tried his best to beat him down. No, I won't do that kind of cowardly act. I must defeat the rumors, I must persevere to the end. For the treasures, I will never give up. When Fatty Hi heard this, his fighting spirit was immediately boosted. He didn't even bother to wipe off his fake tears as he immediately rushed towards the wind-breath seabird. Those fellows are all jealous of me. You know, a lucky genius like me, they are jealous of me from the bottom of their hearts. That year when I had a bronze-ranked level 2 iron rhinoceros. At that time, that brat Yu Yang only had a bronze-ranked level 3 Hui Tai Lang. Tell me, how could they not be jealous of me? Don't come close, go and die. The wind-breath seabird was so mad that it couldn't help but kick this fellow to the skies. When Fatty Hi fell from the sky, he found a pair of feet in front of him. It seemed like it was quite familiar, as if he had seen it before. Looking up, he found that there was an impossible person standing in front of him. Instantly, his mouth opened so wide that 2 toads could be stuffed inside. Yi Kong, Shui Tan Lang and the others were also stunned, because the person who came was Yu Yang. According to the information that the illusory moon goddess had secretly sent, Yu Clan's third young master should have gone to the Radiant Mountain in the Heaven Realm to look for trouble, and should have started a war with the Supreme Elder Tian Yu. How could he appear here? Could it be this young master hates impostors like you the most? You could have turned into anyone, but you had to turn into the appearance of my little brother. Don't you know that this young master will be very angry? Fatty Hi didn't care about the consequences. In any case, there was no one who was more handsome than him in this world. Usually, Yu Yang didn't dare to hit him, but now that he had turned into a fake, it was just right. Hence, he raised his fist and used the hippo meteor punch. Hey, wait. Yi Kong felt dizzy. Ask clearly before you fight, why are you in such a hurry? The wind-breath seabird shot forward like lightning. Flying kick. It heavily kicked Fatty Hi's big butt. Fatty Hi threw himself at Yu Yang's feet again, almost falling flat on his face. Yu Yang's attitude was very friendly. He didn't mind Fatty Hi's punches at all. He personally helped Fatty Hi up and helped him tidy up his messy collar. He smiled and said, "Isn't this boss? Why are you so polite today? Even if you are happy to see me, you don't have to be so polite." I don't dare. You are the boss. Without you protecting us little brothers, we would be in trouble." Yi Kong heard this. He had to stay away from Fatty Hi. As long as Yu Yang called Fatty Hi boss, it would definitely not be a good thing. If he was not careful, he would be the scapegoat, and even he would die. It was safer to stay away from Fatty Hi. Shui Tan Lang and Prince of Tianluo also felt the same. They were happy that Yu Yang had returned, but this was different from standing beside the unlucky Fatty Hi. Not to mention them, even the wind-breath seabird who had lost its memory felt an indescribable danger. Of course, as your boss, I will always protect you. Don't be afraid if there's anything, just look for me, Master Hi. No matter how big the problem is, it's not enough for me to deal with it. The legendary person who can go against the heavens refers to me. Tell me, I can tell with one look that you must have met with some kind of difficulty. With your strength, you can't solve it yourself, so you came to me, the great and mighty boss, for help. When Fatty Hi heard Yu Yang call him boss, he didn't care whether it was true or not. This was a good chance to show off. Did you think that anyone could be a boss? Yes, that's right. As expected of a boss, you guessed correctly. Yu Yang gave a thumbs up. Haha, do you think that I am a boss for nothing? I am the smartest boss in the world. Fatty Hi grinned from ear to ear. Did I really know this kind of idiot before? The wind-breath seabird looked at Yi Kong and the others in confusion. That's not right. Even if it was a blind bird, it wouldn't follow this kind of master, right? Yi Kong hurriedly comforted her. It's okay, idiocy is not contagious. The Li brothers nodded their heads desperately to prove it. Shui Tan Lang and Prince of Tianluo looked at each other. Was there anything that Yu Yang couldn't solve that required their help? Strange. Could it be that this Yu-clan's third young master was fake? Looking at Fatty Hai, who was about to be cheated to death, it didn't seem like it. This was obviously the Yu-clan's third young master, who was the scapegoat. Could it be that there was really a mission that required their help? When the two of them thought about it, curiosity could even kill a cat. As a righteous and loyal boss, there's no reason for me not to stand up for you. Fatty Hai was just short of saying that he would go up a mountain of swords and go down a walk of oil. Actually, it's very simple. Yu Yang smiled brightly, his lips red and teeth white. This matter seems to be difficult. Yi Kong looked at Fatty Hai's expression and knew that this was not a small matter. The more relaxed his smile was, the more difficult the mission would be. If it was the other way around, with a serious face, scolding people until they were so ashamed that they wanted to find a hole to hide in, then it would probably be better. Smiling brightly like the sun, he was definitely going to cheat them to death. Speak. Fatty Hai patted his chest, causing his fat to ripple. Forget about asking for his help. He wouldn't even hesitate to commit suicide. Could his boss say no? What a joke, in front of his little brother, the boss must set an example. It's like this, as your little brother, I've always been very busy and needed to worry about a lot of things. But as the boss, you're more leisurely. I'm usually the one doing all the manual labor. I don't have any objections if a boss enjoys life. But at this time, I'm really too busy and can't be distracted. There was a reason why Yu Yang wanted his boss to help. He couldn't be unreasonable. Fatty Hai was very touched when he heard this. As a boss enjoying life, he shouldn't be doing that. If he couldn't solve his little brother's problems, could he still be a good boss? Fatty Hai was about to open his mouth, but Yu Yang quickly stopped him. I know what you mean, and I also know that you're a good boss. I've done all the manual labor, that's my duty. Boss should enjoy life and flirt with girls at the same time. I don't have any objections. It's just that this matter still needs the boss to do it. As a little brother, even if I wanted to do it, I'm not qualified. Yi Kong's eyes darkened when he heard this. Fatty Hai might really die this time. It was rare for him to call him boss, but now that third young master had called him boss so many times, would Fatty Hai really be able to survive? Xue Tan Lang also felt that it was time to make a tombstone for Fatty Hai. As for the epitaph, he didn't even need to think about it. He could just write something like, "Idiocy is not contagious. What matter needs me to do?" Fatty Hai was so excited that his face turned red. It was time for the protagonist to become a winner in life. Solving the space-time maze. The guy from another world explained very patiently. He put one hand on Fatty Hai's shoulder and acted very intimately. It's not difficult to solve this space-time maze, but if I, as a little brother, take action, because my status is not high enough, that damned sky chariot will know. So I can't do it, I have to rely on you, the boss. Haha, now you know how powerful I, the boss, am. Fatty Hai winked at Yi Kong and the others who were hiding far away. However, these guys were not willing to cooperate, and he was really unhappy. Looking back at the guy from another world, the more he looked at him, the more he liked him. As expected of his little brother, he gave all the important tasks to him, the boss. The heroic spirit in his heart was like a volcano erupting, and the spirit of loyalty in his chest was not extinguished. In the end, he blurted out, "All right, leave everything to me, the boss." Good. Yu Yang was not stingy with his thumbs up. How much time do we have left? Fatty Hai, in his excitement, vaguely remembered that Dong Feng had set up a damned countdown timer in the space-time maze. There's still a lot, a whole day's time. Yu Yang expressed that time was not a problem at all. How many things could be done in a day? If it was a super god, destroying a piece of heaven and earth would be very easy. All right then. Fatty Hai also felt that he could do a lot of things in a day. I'll leave the space-time maze to you. I have to rush to another battlefield, there's a fierce battle going on there. Yu Yang waved goodbye to Fatty Hai. Go, leave this place to me. With me, the boss, here, don't worry. Fatty High had already almost forgotten what his ancestor's surname was. How could he still be rational? In his excitement, he waved goodbye to the guy from another world and made a big guarantee. Wait a minute. Yikong hurriedly stopped him. What do we need to do to solve the space-time maze? It's very simple. I've already marked the path of the maze. This place will no longer be confused, and there won't be any illusions. As long as you guys continue to rush through the stages and defeat the guarding boss, the task will be completed easily. Yu Yang explained as if it was easier than eating beans. Then can I ask, how many stages are there in the entire maze? Prince of Tian Luo asked carefully. Not many, only 100 stages. The guy from another world's 100 stages was a small number. 100 stages? Xue Tan Lang felt as if he had been struck by lightning. The guarding boss wouldn't be those gods from the Heaven Realm or the Central Shrine, right? Yikong already had a bad premonition. Not all of them are gods, there are also some weak chickens. Moreover, I've already helped you guys get rid of a few gods. The fiercest one, Jizun, is already trapped in His Majesty's dream realm. You guys just need to fight some small monsters, it's very easy. Yu Yang said casually, as if it was even easier than catching a few small shrimps on the riverbank. Damn, how can we win? Yikong couldn't help but curse when he heard that the opponents were at the level of Jizun. Although he didn't know the real strength of Jizun, it didn't stop him from being afraid. That kind of super existence could kill everyone in an instant with just a finger. This was not a task at all, it was a suicide mission. It's fine. Go and do what you need to do, we'll settle it. Fatty High's mind was only filled with the word boss, nothing else. Settle your sister. Fatty, if you have the ability, go and do it yourself. We can't do it. Yikong was about to faint. Xue Tan Lang was also speechless. It was already painful enough to fight a captain's clone, and he had to do it over and over again. How was he supposed to fight the 3 supreme martial artists of the Central Divine Palace? If this task wasn't given by his brother-in-law, he would definitely think that the other party was crazy. How could the 3 great Jizun of the Central Shrine be someone that they, the younger generation, could defeat? Even if the strongest Jizun was trapped in the Dream Realm, it still wouldn't work. There were still Jizun and Jizun. Even if they weren't here, there were still others. Other than Fatty High, Yu Tan Lang sympathized with the situation where the others were about to riot. If it was someone else who asked him to fight, he would also spit on that person's face. However, he really didn't have the time to do that. Moreover, wasn't Fatty High the boss? Of course, the boss would have a heavy responsibility. In order to calm everyone down a little, Yu Yang, who was considerate and kind-hearted, made a magnanimous suggestion. Without the God's throne, it would indeed be a little difficult for you guys to defeat so many bosses. How about this? I will personally lend you guys some divine power, according to the height of your destiny that you guys have previously shouldered. Is that possible? Yikong and the others were dumbfounded. I will give each of you a God's emblem. It will be the foundation of your God's throne in the future. Of course, since you don't have a God's throne yet, I will lend this to you. You can use the God's emblem to use the God's power of fate that you have carried before to fight. Yu Yang pointed his finger forward. Countless rays of divine light. They flew towards everyone's eyebrows. In an instant, a god's body that looked like its owner rose above Fatty High, Yikong, Xue Tan Lang and Prince of Tian Luo. Yu Yang didn't wait for everyone to cheer. He hurriedly turned around and left. Before he left, he didn't forget to remind everyone. This is my personal loan to you. Remember to return it. Plus the interest, you only need to return it to me. If not for this sentence, the image of the guy from another world would be very tall and powerful. However, this sentence, even Xue Tan Lang, who was as cold as ice, couldn't help but question him. If this guy goes into business, those who do business with him might not even have their bones left. Is it really okay for Big Sister to marry this kind of person? Chapter 1367. Grimoire World. When Yu Yang opened his eyes, he found Shui Wuxiao and Princess Sisai looking at him nervously. Don't worry, I didn't make a move directly, Sky Chariot shouldn't find out. Yu Yang quickly comforted them. Besides, I imitated His Majesty's real dream. Even if Sky Chariot found out, he wouldn't be able to catch me. Actually, Sky Chariot isn't the one I'm most worried about. Shui Wuxia muttered. I feel that Dong Feng's trump card isn't that simple. Dong Feng is indeed the key. Princess Sisai agreed. It's a pity that we know too little about him, and time is too tight. Otherwise, we might be able to think of a good way to deal with him. Skylaw shook her head and sighed. She felt that Dong Feng's strength wasn't the most terrifying, but his threat was extremely high, only below Sky Chariot. It was impossible for him to just hide in the Dead Sea camp of the Ancient God's Gate and do nothing in the end. The problem was, under the current conditions, how could they dig Dong Feng out from the Dead Sea and give him a fatal blow? Only the kind sickly beauty was more optimistic. She smiled and comforted everyone. Maybe Dong Feng is a good person and he's just using Sky Chariot. Yu Yang was stunned when he heard this. Luohua City Mistress waved her hands repeatedly. No, that's impossible. That traitor from the east is definitely a bad person. Furthermore, he's a very bad person. Everything he did was to sink Tong Tian Tower, there's no other possibility. With his character, he can't be a good person. He must be a very evil person. The reason why Dong Feng hasn't made a move yet is because the time is not right. Once he makes a move, I'm afraid it'll be the end. He's using Sky Chariot, but on the other hand, isn't Sky Chariot also using him? Among the girls, only Yu Yu and Lu Yi were willing to support Sickly Beauty. However, they only felt that it was a possibility. They didn't completely believe it. Even Sickly Beauty herself was optimistic about this. She did not confirm that Dong Feng was a spy from Tong Tian Tower. I don't care who Dong Feng is. It doesn't matter if there's one sheep or two. It doesn't matter if there's an extra Dong Feng. At most, I'll just fight it out with him. Yu Yang now felt that he should be able to protect himself. He no longer had the same concerns as before. Whether they won the fate battle or not, the Divine Sovereign definitely wouldn't run. It was just that losing the fate battle and letting that fellow Tianyu get his way made him unhappy. We still have to wait for a while. It's not the best time yet. You go out and take a look first. Think of a way to replace Ji Zun. Shui Wuxia had also thought of a plan in the past few days. Whether or not they could turn the situation around depended on how the plan was implemented. Be careful, remember not to let your emotions affect your actions, and don't act rashly. Yu Yu hurriedly warned her brother. She was most afraid that he would go crazy once he started fighting and forget the proper business. Don't worry, I'll definitely face it calmly. I definitely won't let Dong Feng and Tianyu scheme against me. Yu Yang patted his chest and guaranteed. However, not long after he finished speaking, he came out of the grimoire world and almost went crazy when he saw the scene. His anger exploded 1,000 times, and his rationality was suppressed by his boiling blood. He almost lost control, and his divine power was about to break out of his body. In front of him, an extremely cruel scene appeared on the battlefield. The entire Divine Mountain was carried by Emperor Wu Shuang, and he was walking towards the Dead Sea step by step. The heavenly serpent bridge trembled and collapsed under his feet. In front of Emperor Wu Shuang, an even taller and larger guardian of the Dead Sea was supporting the Divine Mountain, preventing Emperor Wu Shuang from moving forward. Every step Emperor Wu Shuang took, he had to put in hundreds and thousands of times more effort. On the top of the Divine Mountain, subduing Chongqing, who was supporting the sky, had already collapsed on the ground. He no longer had the strength to support himself, and the original guardian flower fairy took his place. Her divine body had long been destroyed, and her fossilized body was shattered. Only a wisp of her fragrant soul and the sovereign's divine sense, which was as firm as a mountain, was supporting the sky by force. Dozens of Dead Sea's fallen gods attacked in a frenzy. Some attacked Emperor Wu Shuang, some attacked the guardian flower fairy, but most of them attacked Jizun, who was bathed in blood and blocking the divine mountain. Without Jizun, the flower fairy's soul would have been destroyed long ago. However, Jizun, who was facing the attacks of so many old ghosts, was no lighter than the flower fairy who was supporting the sky and Emperor Wu Shuang who was supporting the divine mountain. Jizun, who was unable to retreat and had to face the attacks head-on, was covered in wounds and blood. Yu Yang had never seen her so heavily injured before. In an instant, his heart almost broke from the pain. Those damned old ghosts were actually so shameless, ganging up on a young junior who had yet to condense his throne. Mo Long. Yu Yang's roar was like thunder. He really wanted to know what his boss, the Mo Long, was doing. How could he watch this scene unfold? Brat, you finally came out. Luckily, you made it in time to collect my corpse. In the abyss under the heavenly snake bridge, a monster with a broken divine body that looked even worse than a scarecrow moaned weakly. Yu Yang was extremely shocked. How could someone as strong as the Mo Long be beaten to such a state? Could it be that there were two guardian honorables in the Dead Sea? Impossible. The Mo Long, who was on his last breath, shook his head and signaled to Yu Yang that there was no need to go forward to save him. Don't waste your energy, I can't be saved anymore. Don't cry, I'm most afraid of horse piss. If you dare to cry, I won't be able to die in peace. Yu Yang couldn't believe it. He had only been in there for a few days, and the situation had already become like this. What exactly happened? The Mo Long struggled to catch his breath. It's a long story. I'm too lazy to say it. The heavily injured Honorable Humph. It's the good deed of that traitor from the east. I don't know where he reported that the Mo Long was released before his sentence was completed. Now, he has returned to the heaven realm to commit evil and requested for punishment. 3 days ago, the ancient celestial gate opened, but the ancient great god didn't appear. Instead, a giant hammer was thrown in and broke that fool's spine. Just like that, he was sent out of the battlefield. Shameful, it's too shameful for me to be the boss. The Mo Long was very ashamed. He thought that he could protect his little brother, but he didn't expect that he would become his little brother's burden instead. Why is it that no one cares about their evil deeds, but you are punished for doing good deeds like Lei Feng? Is there still justice in this world? Yu Yang was furious when he heard this. You also said that doing good deeds will definitely cause you to be wronged. If you don't feel wronged, how can it be called a good deed? The Mo Long was quite open-minded. With his past sins, smashing a hammer in was already considered to be protecting him. If it was really strictly enforced, he might even be dragged to the god execution stage and beheaded 100 times. His only regret was that he couldn't participate in this fated battle. He really wanted to help his little brother, but he didn't have the mental strength to do so. I have never done good deeds in my entire life. Unfortunately, the heavens didn't give me this chance. F*CK, this is too F*King evil. I want to complain. Yu Yang almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Do you have acquaintances above you? The Mo Long was shocked when he heard this. No. Yu Yang was very helpless. That's a waste of effort. The Mo Long snorted. If there's no one above you, why the hell are you complaining? They are bullying people like you who don't have any backing. Stop talking nonsense. Come over and replace Peerless. It wasn't easy for Jizun to catch a breather. If Yu Yang didn't appear and temporarily scare off the surrounding gods, she didn't know if she could hold on any longer. What? Yu Yang looked at the million-meter-tall sacred mountain. How could he possibly carry it? Why don't you go and defeat the guardian of the Dead Sea? Jizun democratically gave Yu Yang two choices. I might as well carry the mountain. Yu Yang didn't understand. Why did he have to carry the entire sacred mountain? Even if he wanted to move the mountain, couldn't he slowly move it after defeating the enemy? Now that the guardian of the Dead Sea was right in front of him, how could he move it? Even if the guardian of the Dead Sea was an idiot, he wouldn't just watch as such a thing happened. There's no time. The Mo Long strained his throat and shouted with all his might. There's still one more day before the ancient balance scale world descends. This place will become the stage for the fated battle. At that time, it will be impossible for you to win. Can you fight against a large group of people alone? If you want to win, you have to fulfill the legendary prophecy of flattening the sacred mountain, evaporating the Dead Sea. Haha, flattening the sacred mountain? Evaporating the Dead Sea? Ah. The guardian of the Dead Sea laughed. Do you really think that's possible? The reason why I conserved my strength is to let Peerless carry the mountain. Right now, your side is already riding a tiger and can't back down. You're on the verge of death. What prophecy is there to talk about? I can continue. No one in this world can stop my peerless will. Emperor Peerless Wushuang took a step forward with great effort. Although the sacred mountain was on his shoulders and a strong enemy was in front of him, his face was still resolute. Titan Yu, you just have to remember one thing. Your opponent is Deity Templar's Tian Yu. This balanced scale world, this Dead Sea, and everything in it should be ended by me. This is my fate, not yours. You just have to be yourself. Don't even think about it. As long as I exist, Peerless Wushuang, you'll always be a failure. The guardian of the Dead Sea didn't even look at Yu Yang. He spread his 6 arms and firmly supported a corner of the sacred mountain, blocking Emperor Peerless Wushuang's path. Emperor Peerless Wushuang shouted in a low voice. Divine power erupted. He paid the price of overdrawing his life in exchange for a short step. Emperor Peerless Wushuang and the Guardian of the Dead Sea had engaged in this kind of struggle countless times in the past 3 days. On the surface, Emperor Peerless Wushuang was unstoppable. However, the Guardian of the Dead Sea believed that the final victory would belong to him. Because under his obstruction, Emperor Peerless Wushuang would never be able to reach the edge of the Dead Sea. Halfway through, this fated opponent would completely overdraw his life and death, finally falling to the ground and dying. Titan Yu, your opponent is me. Yu Yang turned around and found that the Guardian of Light was standing tall behind him. When did you come in? Yu Yang was puzzled. This guy could also leave the Radiance Mountain in the Heaven Realm and enter the ancient Sacred Gate. The Gate of Destiny has officially opened. The Guardian of Light glanced at the Demon Dragon, then his gaze returned to Yu Yang. In the ancient passage, I could have killed you, the Destiny candidate. However, without the Destiny Showdown, the Heavenly Chariot's prestige as a divine sovereign would be damaged. That's why I secretly let you go. You and that stupid dragon, don't tell me you really think you can escape from me? The ancient passage in the Radiance Mountain is my territory. Even if you have the ability to transcend the heavens, you can only play tricks under my eyes. Do you really think you can hide from me? Everything is within my calculations. Dongfang appeared. He first respectfully greeted the peerless Emperor Wushuang, and then smiled at Yu Yang. The truly troublesome one is not others, but the peerless senior. Only when he dies can the next generation's destined showdown be established, and only when he dies, Tong Tian Tower will truly sink forever. Titan Yu, you are also not bad. However, compared to Emperor Peerless Wushuang, you are still slightly lacking. So smart. As expected of Dongfang. Yu Yang clapped his hands and praised, but his voice was like ice exploding. Next, it should be my turn, right? No. Dongfang shook his head. There is no more chess. Even if you want to play now, you can't. For the final victory, I have decided to sacrifice myself. Without an opponent, who are you going to play with? You missed a step. Now you want to take back your move and make up for it. However, it is already too late. I will not give you this chance. Titan, you are a genius, no doubt about it. However, when it comes to chess, I, Dongfang, am still better. Dongfang fluttered in the air. He slowly drifted towards the direction of the Dead Sea. His robes fluttered in the wind. His entire person was like the legendary Ascension. There was an indescribable elegance and transcendence about him. However, the expression on his face was solemn and serene. It was as if he was the most dedicated and fanatical martyr in the world. For the sake of his ideals, he did not hesitate to pay and sacrifice himself. Goodbye, the hometown that gave birth to me and raised me. Goodbye, the Tongtian Tower that gave birth to me and raised me. Farewell forever. Dongfang is an insignificant speck of dust in the world. However, I have been here before. Even if a meteor appears and its splendor is hard to last forever, I will still emit my radiance, my light. There is no era that belongs to my Dongfang. However, at the very least, I can prove that my Dongfang has been here before, just like a comet streaking across the sky. Dongfang fell from the sky at the limit of the vault of heaven. His entire person blazed with flames and light. On the terrifying and dark Dead Sea, he drew an incomparably dazzling light mark and plunged deep into it. Chapter 1368. The Dead Sea, which was dark and terrifying, did not produce any ripples. Not even a bubble appeared. The burning Dongfang was directly annihilated. Then, it was as if nothing had happened. Phew! After seeing that the Dead Sea was still there, nearly 100 old ghosts felt relieved. They could not help but heave a sigh of relief. Although Dongfang was a heinous villain and a traitor that everyone wanted to kill, there was one thing that could not be changed. Dongfang was a member of the Tongtian Tower. No one knew if this crafty Dongfang would turn to the Tongtian Tower, which gave birth to him and raised him, at the last moment. No one could guarantee that Dongfang would not turn against them at the last moment. Especially when he died, he charged towards the Dead Sea with his whole body burning. It was more like the legend of the Dead Sea evaporating. Now they saw that everything was the same. There was no abnormality. Only then did they believe that this Dongfang was a thoroughly rotten scoundrel from head to toe, a truly hopeless traitor who would do all sorts of evil for the sake of revenge. What a pity! Some people sighed in their hearts. A wise man like Dongfang should not have committed suicide at such an important moment. This was simply a foolish act of cutting off one's own arms and legs. Dongfang's wisdom could be of great help. This was something that no amount of divine power could replace. However, the huge Dead Sea could not contain Dongfang. As long as he was alive, all the gods in the Dead Sea could not be at ease and could not go all out. Perhaps, because of this, Dongfang had decisively committed suicide and pushed the situation to an irreversible battle. Perhaps, a smart person like him, who had calculated everything, had already predicted such an ending before he entered the Libra world. It was no wonder that the expression on his face always seemed to have a kind of inexplicable self-mockery. It's better for him to be dead. Some people thought so in their hearts. If Dongfang did not die, there might be some more trouble. Now that he was dead, everything had stabilized. Although it was a pity, a dangerous person's death was more reassuring than being alive. On the other side, Ji Zun's face was expressionless. So was Yu Yang. On the other hand, the demonic dragon let out a long sigh. This is too disappointing. I thought that this guy would find his conscience and turn around to strike back. His words resonated with the common people who were also paralyzed on the divine mountain, waiting for their death. He also thought that the East would change its mind and try to evaporate the Dead Sea in order to pave the way for the future divine supremacy. Who would have thought that this death wouldn't even cause a bubble? It was truly a death for a chess piece. He was bad to the very end and never looked back. It was truly disappointing. What a joke! Only the Death Sea Guardian Paragon had an arrogant expression on his face. In his heart, regardless of whether Dongfang was a traitor or a spy, there was nothing to fear. Do you think you can evaporate the Dead Sea just by turning yourself into fire and throwing yourself into it? This was a huge joke, okay? Even if all the god-level experts in the balance world were to be thrown into the Dead Sea, or even 10 times the number of them, it would still be impossible for the Dead Sea to evaporate. Only the Divine Mountain was possible. This was because there were too many divine-ranked seniors of Tong Tian Tower or Tong Tian Tower's camp who were sleeping eternally in the Divine Mountain. Once the divine power and the rules of order were broken, unpredictable changes would occur. Only by throwing this divine mountain into the Dead Sea would it be possible to realize the prophecy of the Dead Sea evaporating. Anything else was impossible. Even if the Radiance Mountain in the Heaven Realm was thrown into the Dead Sea, it would not achieve the same effect as the Divine Mountain. The Dead Sea could devour everything in the world. How could it be ended by just one Dongfang? However, Dongfang's suicide was complete and did not show any signs of being a spy. Thus, the Death Sea Guardian Paragon reluctantly acknowledged Dongfang's existence. Otherwise, he could easily kill this traitor of the Tong Tian Tower, who only relied on conspiracies and stratagems to succeed. Dongfang did not have enough strength. This was the reason why he and Tian Yu truly acknowledged and accepted Dongfang. The second reason was his wisdom. Forward, forward. Emperor Wu Shuang's peerless eyes were filled with determination. Dongfang's death had no effect on him at all. Don't even think about it. The Death Sea Guardian Paragon resisted with all his might. His 6 giant arms supported the Divine Mountain. Emperor Wu Shuang's peerless life burned and advanced at the cost of his own life. Under the Death Sea Guardian Paragon's obstruction, Emperor Wu Shuang could not even take a small step forward. It was a contest of strength between 2 giants. It was still going on. It was just like a predestined battle between them. It was believed that this contest would not truly stop until one side fell. At this moment, no matter who tried to stop it, it was impossible to stop this predestined battle that transcended life and death. The Light Guardian Paragon's expression was very indifferent. He did not look at the demon dragon, nor did he look at the Supreme Being bathed in blood on the Divine Mountain. He only looked at Yu Yang quietly. Your opponent is me. As long as you are ready, the battle can begin at any time. If you think it is necessary, you can prepare first. It won't be too late for us to start after you are done. He was not anxious at all. To him, the longer the battle dragged on, the more advantageous it would be. If it wasn't for the fact that he needed enough virtue to become a holy elder, he would have killed this ignorant young man in an instant in the ancient passage. Until now, he was still a little suspicious. Why wasn't the other candidate for the predestined battle Queen Vivian Li, but her disciple? This young man, even if he was born a god, he would not be Tian Yu's opponent after cultivating for so long. Not to mention, he was born as the lowest human in the soaring dragon continent of Tong Tian Tower, a pitiful creature that was even weaker than ants in the Heaven Realm. There was no need to kill him. Perhaps cutting off his head would be a good idea. When the real predestined battle starts in the Tian Ping world, it would be enough to let this brat become Tian Yu's sacrifice to become a holy elder. Alright, it's decided then. In the eyes of the Light Guardian Paragon, Yu Yang was just a fish on his chopping board to be slaughtered at will. Just look at you, and you still want to be a boss. Yu Yang didn't look at the Light Guardian Paragon. Instead, he fished out the battered Mo Long from the abyss and threw him on top of the Divine Mountain. The Mo Long was so angry that his lungs almost exploded, but he couldn't refute Yu Yang's words. He was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood and die. You're not dead yet, right? If you're not dead, then get up and hold up the sky for me. Why are you still lying on the ground? Is this how you should be a senior? Get up. Yu Yang kicked Subtraction Chong Xing's waist. I don't know how to be a senior. Moreover, I really can't get up. Subtraction Chong Xing really had no choice. His waist was broken. Otherwise, how painful would it be for a man to say that he couldn't get up? Qi Danzi was even more miserable. No one hit him. However, he only had one breath left, because at the beginning, he wanted to overestimate himself and block the path. In the end, he was stepped on by Emperor Wu Shuang. Yu Yang looked at the flower fairy whose body had disappeared and only a wisp of her soul was left. She forcefully held up the sky with her willpower. He kicked Subtraction Chong Xing's waist again. If you can't get up, then why are you still alive? Trash, get further away from this young master. The heartless Yu Yang kicked Subtraction Chong Xing into the air. He flipped a dozen times and fell heavily on the ground. Subtraction Chong Xing was furious. He jumped up and roared, "No matter what, I'm still a senior. Don't go too far. Kicking me once is enough, but you're still kicking me. Do you think I'm your watchdog? Is my waist healed?" On the other side, Qi Danzi also jumped up. He realized that the bones all over his body, which were almost destroyed by Yu Yang's peerless god power and law, had recovered. I have to find a good watchdog. Look at you, no one will give you food even if you beg. Yu Yang turned around and left. You! Subtraction Chong Xing was furious. He wanted to fight to the death with this kid. But in the end, he still swallowed his anger like a tortoise. His face turned red. He thought to himself, I'm a magnanimous senior who doesn't hold grudges against lowly people. I'll forgive you for now. If you show any disrespect in the future, I'll immediately fall out with you. He repeated these words 100 times. When he felt that his anger had calmed down, he would hurry over and take down the sky. The flower fairy couldn't hold on anymore. She only had a wisp of her soul left. Qi Danzi looked at Subtraction Chong Xing, then at the 100 old ghosts in front of him. He hesitated, not knowing what to do. F***CK, do you think you can go back to them? Subtraction Chong Xing really wanted to slap him. Even if you can't be a hero, don't be a fence-sitter. That's the worst way to die. Come back, it's fine. We're still partners. Repent and be saved, Qi Danzi. You haven't done anything to resist. How can we see you as an enemy? That idiot Subtraction Chong Xing is our enemy. You've seen the current situation as well. Staying with them will only lead to death. Why bother? If you recover, hurry back or go back to the Dead Sea to sleep. Staying away from the battle is the wisest move. The gods on the Dead Sea's side started to make a ruckus. They were trying their best to drive a wedge between Qi Danzi and Subtraction Chong Xing. Qi Danzi joining the enemy's formation didn't help much. It was almost negligible. But everyone was very unhappy. Why did you have to stand out and be a hero? Unlike Subtraction Chong Xing, who had already fallen out with him and couldn't turn back, there was still hope for Qi Danzi to lure him back. Even if Qi Danzi left, it would still be a blow to Subtraction Chong Xing. You can be a hero, but you won't be able to do as you wish. Qi Danzi lowered his head and said to Subtraction Chong Xing in a voice as small as an ant, I'm sorry, Scram. Subtraction Chong Xing roared angrily, Scram now? Die far away from me. I don't know you. Who's a fence-sitter? I also want to be a hero, but I'm not as fast as you. You've taken the lead. Do you really think you're the only one in the world who can be a hero? Qi Danzi was also angry. He glared at Subtraction Chong Xing. I don't know you either. Damn. Do you think it's honorable for me to know an idiot like you? Bah. It's not honorable, it's not honorable. I've wronged you. Subtraction Chong Xing immediately beamed with joy. Come closer. Even if we die, we're still brothers. Brothers! Qi Danzi's hair stood on end when he heard these gay words. He had goosebumps all over his body. On the other side of the divine mountain, Yu Yang arrived in front of Ji Zun. Ji Zun couldn't see through this kid. It can't be that this kid also wants to say something like brothers to her, right? Yu Yang didn't speak, but his eyes were full of heartache. That kind of heartache slowly overflowed from the bottom of his heart. When Ji Zun, who originally wanted to scold him, saw this, she couldn't open her mouth for a while. He opened his arms and hugged Ji Zun tightly. For the first time in his life, he took the initiative. There were no distracting thoughts. He just wanted to hug her tightly. Ji Zun's body trembled slightly, and her ice-cold eyes slightly thawed. Her bloody hand slowly reached up, wanting to touch his face and soothe the heartache that overflowed for him. However, her strong and resolute will didn't allow her to have a trace of weakness in her heart. Her hand changed, and finally patted Yu Yang's back heavily, almost making him lose his breath. "Are you still a child? I'm not dead yet. Don't worry." Yu Yang also patted Ji Zun's back gently. "I won't let you down." "What?" Ji Zun was slightly stunned. She couldn't understand what this kid meant at all. "What I want to say is, please watch carefully, because I alone am enough here." At the same time when Ji Zun pushed him away, Yu Yang bent down and kissed her. Ji Zun avoided it, but he still touched the corner of her lips. This kind of bold action shocked Ji Zun, and she was stunned on the spot. However, Yu Yang didn't have the usual fear. On the contrary, a kind of supreme courage and will broke out from him. "Please watch my anger and judgment. All those who dare to offend your majesty, whether they are ants or gods, will receive the most severe punishment." "Based on what?" Guardian of Light smiled coldly. "Based on the fact that I am her disciple. Based on the fact that I am the most important man in her life." Yu Yang's eyes were spewing fire, and he shouted. In front of Guardian of Light, in front of the Dead Sea Fallen God's Council, his will shook and shook the whole balanced world. His anger ignited his divine power, which was millions of times more majestic than the eruption of a volcano. It covered the sky and the earth, and suddenly poured out. Under the inconceivable gazes of the Dead Sea God's Council, Yu Yang's divine body rose sharply until it reached a height of 10,000 meters. The demon dragon's eyes were wide open. Even Guardian of Light couldn't accept this fact for a moment. As soon as the eternal divine throne and the supreme law appeared, the Dead Sea God's Council scattered like a group of rats. No one dared to stay under the angry gaze of Yu Yang. Ji Zun found that the man in front of her had unknowingly grown up. He seemed to be taller than a divine mountain, and his broad shoulders could carry everything. In fact, his own injuries would also damage his pride, making him agitated and angry. The young eagle spread its wings and flew. It grew and changed rapidly in the vast sky. It became a proud king. Yes. He was no longer the child she saw on the first floor of the sky-reaching tower. He had grown up, truly grown up. A kind of tears that she had never shed since she was a child suddenly appeared, and her eyes became moist. From the bottom of her heart, a kind of care that she had never felt before suddenly gushed into her heart like a warm current. It was forcefully imposed on her life and will, making her feel uncomfortable, but she had no choice but to accept it. "Ah, Mother, is this the indomitable man who can support the whole heaven stairway that you and the others spoke of? Is this the desire that you and little Ant have been praying for and persevering to the end? Is it true that only your younger brother can support the sky of life? I will make those ants who offended you, as well as the whole balanced world, tremble under my anger." Yu Yang raised his fist and smashed it down resolutely. Even someone as powerful as Guardian of Light didn't dare to ignore this extreme anger, and quickly dodged. A divine-level expert who was hiding deep underground, thinking that he was safe and that no one knew about him, was forcefully dug out by Yu Yang. Yu Yang ignored his painful wails and powerless struggles. He clenched his 5 fingers. His divine power directly destroyed him. Eternal destruction. Both his divine body and soul were annihilated into a primordial chaotic state. His divine eyes stared angrily at the frightened old ghosts of the Dead Sea God's council. His cold will suffocated everyone present. This is only the first one. The trial has just begun. All of you tremble under my anger. Chapter 1369. So, this is the true meaning of the fated showdown. Master Scarlet Danzi and Master Subduing Chang Xing stared intently at the majestic 10,000-meter-tall divine body behind Yu Yang, as well as the unique eternal divine throne. They could not bear to look away for a long time, their hearts brimming with envy. After a long time, Master Subduing Chang Xing finally came back to his senses and sighed. If I did not see it with my own eyes, I would not have believed that there is such a possibility in this world. This is truly a fated good fortune that transcends the heavens and the god. It is indeed amazing. The demon dragon was shocked but also agreed. However, no matter how amazing he is, I will still be his boss, haha. The demon dragon was not as useless as Master Scarlet Danzi and Master Subduing Chang Xing. He still had the leisure to look at everyone's reactions. The Dead Sea Gods did not need to look much. Other than the child-faced old man with the dragon erosion staff, and a few other leaders who were slightly better off, the rest were so scared that they wanted to flee in all directions. If not for the light guardian Audark, these timid old men would have long fled back to the Dead Sea and would not show their faces even if the outside world was turned upside down. There was no hope for them to improve. They could not compete with those who were stronger than them, but they could still compete with those who were weaker. They did not want to participate in any fate war. Before this, Ji Zun was a weak-looking woman. She only used her 6,000-meter-tall divine body to fight, and it was already enough to make them suffer. Now that Yu Yang had a huge explosion, his 10,000-meter-tall divine body and eternal divine throne appeared at the same time, he could defeat the enemy in seconds with unparalleled might. How could these old ghosts still have the guts to stand in front of the formation? The light guardian Autarka's expression was different. He was still quite calm. Even when Yu Yang erupted, he was not too surprised. The demon dragon even observed that this guy seemed to have some kind of plan in hand and seemed to have a card up his sleeve. On the other side, the Dead Sea Guardian Audark only took a glance before turning around and using all his strength to stop the peerless emperor. Yu Yang was not his fated enemy. The Dead Sea Guardian Autark did not care about any changes on Yu Yang's body. He only cared about one person, and that was the peerless Emperor Wu Shuang, who was carrying a divine mountain on his back and preparing to fill up the Dead Sea. Be careful, that guy might be playing tricks. The mystic dragon hurriedly reminded the enraged Yu Yang that now was not the time to be hot-headed. He must not fall into the enemy's trap at such an important moment. So smart. As expected of the mystic dragon, the guardian sovereign of light laughed heartily upon hearing this. You achieved a 10,000-meter-tall divine body and a divine throne in just a few days. Although this is a little unexpected, it's not too much. Everything is still within my control. You Titan, I don't know how much support those old fogies of Tong Tian Tower and your master have given you to instantly raise you to such a realm. However, what I want to say is that what others have given me will never be as solid as what I have cultivated myself, understand? Moreover, from the looks of it, this is already your greatest limit. Don't listen to his nonsense. There are spatial energy fluctuations. Beware of sneak attacks. The demon dragon couldn't help them now, so he was very anxious. Once he sensed the energy fluctuations outside the ancient divine gate, he immediately sent out a warning. The ancient divine gate opened a small gap. It didn't close immediately like before. This abnormality should be related to the fate showdown. Outside the gate, The guardian sovereign of light and other old fogies who were familiar with intelligence might have used this change of law to make some kind of arrangement or deployment in advance. The guardian sovereign of light was very disdainful of the demon dragon's warning. He looked disdainfully at the audience and pointed at the guardian sovereign of the Dead Sea, who was struggling with the peerless emperor. The warning is useless. Demon dragon, do you know my true strength? Do you really think that the 40,000-meter tall divine body is all I have? In fact, I am as famous as him. However, as early as a year ago, I integrated the power of the 20,000-meter tall divine body into the ancient passage, from the Radiance Mountain in the heavenly realm to the Times Square in the God's ruins. The demon dragon shook his head. No, impossible. The God's ruins is an absolute forbidden area that no divine power can break through. If you can open the ancient passage to the Times Square, why not directly penetrate through this ancient divine gate and rescue the guardian sovereign of the Dead Sea? This might be even easier. Yu Yang quickly changed from a state of anger to contemplation. He felt that the enemy wouldn't shoot without a target. There must be something strange. The guardian sovereign of light turned his head and took a slightly serious look at Yu Yang, then turned his head back and smiled at the demon dragon. With your reckless heart, how can you pry into my true intentions? It is indeed impossible to forcibly open an ancient passage from the forbidden area of the God's ruins, but why would I do such a stupid thing? I only need to leave a strand of divine thread in the Times Square, and that will be enough. Hearing this, Yu Yang suddenly realized, so you want to move the battlefield of the Fate Duel to the Times Square. Titan Yu is still smarter, understanding immediately. The guardian sovereign of light laughed, however, you still didn't guess my intentions correctly. I gave up my 20,000-meter tall divine body and integrated it into the passage, paving the way for today's Fate Duel. Now that the Sky Tower and the Times Square are about to be connected, no matter who wins or loses, Heaven-reaching Tower cannot escape the disaster of destruction. And you, Titan you, on the list of candidates for the Fate Duel, will be the stepping stone of the Temple Supreme Heavenly Chariot who has been training hard every day for thousands of years. Your master, Snake Demon Queen Vivian Li, your senior, Emperor Wu Shuangshi, and your friend, Demon Dragon, who dug his own grave and jumped into the pit he dug himself, etc. None of them can escape the reincarnation of fate. All of them will be trapped in the Sky Tower forever, unable to transcend. If the Times Square and the Sky Tower were connected, the consequences would be. It was indeed unimaginable. If they lost this battle, being trapped in the Sky Tower forever was the most basic. What was even more frightening was that the two old fellows, the Guardian of the Light and the Guardian of the Dead Sea, were preparing to replace them with the peerless Emperor and Empress Fei Wenli, and then take the opportunity to free themselves and escape from the Gate of Destiny. Don't think about anything now, it's useless to think about anything, it's most practical to act quickly. As long as you can kill him, there is still a chance. Demon Dragon was afraid that Yu Yang would continue to think. In the end, he couldn't think of a way, but the time was delayed, so he hurriedly called for him to start the battle. Don't, let's think of a way to deal with it first. Reduce the common people rolled his eyes. Kill the Guardian Sovereign of Light? It's easy to say, try it if you have the ability. If we can't do anything, then what should we do? Qi Danzi felt that his head was about to explode. Shut up. Jizun was angry. She was usually scary enough when she didn't get angry. Now that she was angry, even Demon Dragon was so scared that his heart was pounding. He quickly shut up. He dared to provoke anyone but Jizun. Jizun looked at Yu Yang with a particularly serious expression. I have nothing to say, just one thing, you fight well, we don't need you to worry about us. The we, she said, not only included herself, but also Queen Vivian Li. Although she didn't know how fierce the battle on Queen Vivian Li's side was and how bad the situation was, she felt that the only thing Yu Yang had to do was fight well. There was no need to think about anything else. Compared to the Temple Supreme Tianyu, the guardian sovereign of light in front of him was not an ordinary person. If he wanted to fight Tianyu, he had to get through him first. You have about 3 hours. The guardian of light raised 3 fingers and said with a proud expression, "If you can kill me within 3 hours, you will still have time to fight the heavenly chariot who is rushing over." Within 3 hours. Kill the guardian sovereign of light. This was a very difficult task. However, if he couldn't kill the guardian sovereign of light within 3 hours, when Tianyu arrived, the two of them would join forces, and the situation would be even more impossible to reverse. Damn, I'd rather carry a mountain. Demon Dragon suddenly felt that Emperor Wu Shuang's peerless mountain carrying was actually a relatively easy task. Although there was still the guardian sovereign of the Dead Sea in front of him, he could still move forward like an ant by burning his life and desperately overdrawing his strength. Killing the guardian sovereign of light within 3 hours was like a widow who lost her only son. There was no hope at all. 3 hours. Yu Yang hugged Jizun. His voice was surprisingly gentle as he comforted her. Go back and have a good rest first. After I have defeated this guardian of light Jizun, you can come out and help me. I only need 1 hour. Jizun nodded. She didn't pursue Yu Yang's offense, but hugged him back with unusual strength. Then, she turned into a ray of divine light. Under the guidance of Yu Yang's will, she entered his grimoire world. She urgently needed time to recover, comprehend, and make a breakthrough. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to lend him a hand at the most critical moment of the battle. Demon Dragon secretly swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Are you serious? Can you really kill the guardian sovereign of light in 3 hours? Subduing Chang Xing and Qi Dan Zi felt that other than praying, there was no other way to suppress their frantic heartbeat. The guardian sovereign of light waited there quietly. He was very calm. He completely didn't believe that Yu Yang could reverse the situation. Not to mention him, everyone present didn't have the slightest bit of confidence in Yu Yang. F***CK, do you think you can beat me up for sure? 3 hours? Do you believe that I won't beat you up until you cry for your parents within an hour? Yu Yang was furious. If a tiger doesn't show its might, do you think I'm Hello Kitty? You think you can boast just because you are 40,000 meters tall? Now I will let you see what is called fat, and what is called real cultivation. This young master wasn't given by others at all. Every bit of it was cultivated by myself. Do you think only Tianyu can do it? This is simply child's play. Of course, on the surface, Yu Yang's attitude was contemptuous. His heart was still solemn. After all, he was an old guy with at least 40,000 meters tall. It was impossible to beat him easily. Yu Yang had long guessed that the other party would play tricks, so he was mentally prepared. Now that the other party had shown his trump card, although the situation was extremely serious, he could actually relax a little. He didn't dare to say it in the past, but now that he had the divine grimoire in his hands, he could dominate the new world and control the eternal divine throne. The only thing he felt was that the 5-colored divine light and the 6 divine weapons were not completely gathered. Otherwise, even if Tianyu came together, he would still be able to beat him up. F***CK, if I don't beat you up now, will I wait for the meal? It would be strange if I was afraid of you. 6 dragons returning head. Yu Yang roared. Demon Dragon was shocked. He thought to himself that his ultimate move couldn't have been secretly learned by this kid, right? However, Yu Yang's attack pulled a dog out of the eternal divine throne, threw it into the air, and then kicked it towards the enemy. Fortunately, this is the eclipse of the heavenly dog. Demon Dragon patted his chest. If he let Yu Yang secretly learn his ultimate move with just a glance, then he wouldn't want to live anymore. Because he had learned this move for 5 years, comprehended it for 50 years, and honed it for 500 years before he could barely achieve a satisfactory result. On the other side, the Guardian of Light was also shocked. because of the 6 dragons returning head, he almost had a psychological shadow. Seeing that it wasn't the case, he secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Although Yu Yang's move didn't have the power of the 6 dragons returning head. But between heaven and earth, suddenly there was only a mouth left. From the top to the bottom, everything in the world was in its huge mouth. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.